She already has my written.
Thank you.
So for the budget, we didn't make direct.
Trevor's trying to get a hold of Ron, so I don't know if he's on the phone or if he's coming, but it's time to go. He's on phone.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is August the 3rd, and this is our regular Board of Supervisors meeting. I want to welcome you all this morning and see if the clerk of the board would check and see if Supervisor Gold is on the phone.
Supervisor Gould, are you on the line? Supervisor Johnson?
Present.
Okay. Okay, so we do have a quorum. Board of Supervisors may by motion recess into executive session to receive legal advice from the board's attorneys on any item contained in this agenda pursuant to ARS 38-431.03, A3 and 4. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion and action to call for an executive session to be held on September 8th, 2020 at 9 a.m. for discussion and consultation with legal counsel in accordance with ARS 38-431.03, A3 and 4 to discuss items noticed on the agenda with an asterisk.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. I'll now entertain a motion and action to approve waiving the reading in full of items presented for discussion, adoption, or approval at this meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Say nay. Motion passes. Okay, the official business to come before the board this morning.
Madam Supervisor? Madam
Supervisor
Chairman,
Watson.
I'm sorry. Did you want to skip the invocation of the pledge?
No. Thank you very much for bringing that to my attention.
Thank you.
Okay, if you'd all stand and join me in a prayer this morning. Heavenly Father, as the events of this day continue to unfold, we seek your clarity and your guidance as we gather here today as a board. Cover us with a blanket of honesty and patience that is not of this world as we struggle for solutions. Help us endure disagreement and strife with godly courage and patience as we make decisions that affect the lives and the health of others in our communities. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Supervisor Watson. Okay, the first item on the official business to come before the board. Good morning, Supervisor Gould.
Glad to be here.
Discussion on a pending or contemplated litigation claims or demands. Mr. Esplin.
Nothing to report, but if I could just say, if there's any open seats available or anything there might be some down here, you may want to look into that.
Okay, if those in the back of the room could move forward, there is several seats that don't have a.
I don't know if that's the case though. Just one seat. Okay.
Okay.
Start moving staffers out that don't need to be in on this particular item.
Okay. Supervisor Gold has suggested that maybe staff that can wait until later in the agenda might want to wait outside so that our guests or constituents could be comfortable. Okay, I think that's going to be plenty of room then. Thank you very much. We appreciate your understanding. Okay, going on to item number 2, committee and/or legislative reports. We'll begin this morning with Supervisor Johnson.
Nothing this morning, Madam Chair.
Okay, and Supervisor Gold.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I attended the Workforce Development Board meeting telephonically, as most meetings have been, and have nothing unusual to report. Thank you.
Okay, Supervisor Angus.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have a small report from CSA and the state. The Joint Legislative Budget Committee, the JLBC staff, released their monthly summary of the state's general fund revenue and expenditures. The July report reflects the state's June revenue and expenditures, including preliminary information on the state's full FY 2020 performance. General fund revenues in FY 2020 were 2.3% below revenues collected in FY 2019. JLBC staff noted that this reflects the strong growth in revenues through the first 8 months on the fiscal year and the subsequent impact of the COVID-19 pandemic in the last 4. For the month of June, general fund revenues were 11% above June of 2019, which resulted in a $249 million forecast gain. The majority of this growth came from the state's major revenue sources, with sales tax revenues coming in at 10.1% above June of 2019, and individual income tax recipients posting 6.0% growth. The Highway User Revenue Fund collections in June were significantly below 2019, 14.2%, and $19.4 million. This left the total FY 2020 collections $39.4 million below FY 2019, or 2.6%. There's been a flurry of executive actions from the state, from the governor. This report was from July 31st, so that's the reference. Over the last 2 weeks before that, the governor had issued 3 new executive orders, including continuing the closure of specific businesses, authorizing ADOA to make state-owned facilities available to counties to use as voting locations, and allowing state employees to serve as poll workers, and the 2020 to 2021 school year. In addition, he announced the creation of a task force on long-term care, $975,000 to help organizations working to support homeless Arizonans, and a new statewide mass campaign. I'm sure we'll hear about this later from our public health department. A quick summary of the governor's executive orders. Executive Order 2020-43 paused on the operation of certain businesses will remain in place until the order is lifted, but will be evaluated every 2 weeks. Series 6 and 7 liquor licenses, gyms, movie theaters, water parks, and tubing operations. Executive Order 2020-59, Arizona Open for Learning. ADHS will develop public health benchmarks for the safe return of in-person teacher-led classroom instructions by Friday, August 7th. Arizona Department of Education, the State Board of Education, and the Arizona State Board for Charter Schools may develop guidance to assist districts and charter schools to comply with the executive order. Each school district and charter school required to consider ADHS recommendations and guidance from county health officials, community needs, available resources to determine when it is safe to offer in-person classroom instruction, and refer to mitigation strategies. All schools are required to begin teacher-led distance learning by the first day of the instructional calendar, submit a distance learning plan, offers synchronized learning when possible. State funding for full or part-time enrollment and stability grant programs are available. It allows development preschools to provide in-person services, allows schools to continue to pay for staff during building closures, but the employee must remain committed and available to work during their normal work hours. School districts and charter schools must offer free on-site learning and support services starting on August 17th, even if they are not open to teacher-led class instructions, allows limiting the number of students to ensure social distancing, offers support for distance learning during school hours, establishes notification guidelines for parents, requires establishment of policies for face coverings for staff and students over 5 years old until ADHS determines they are no longer necessary to contain the spread of the virus. And then Executive Order 2050 is protecting the public's right to vote. Directs the Arizona Department of Administration to make state-owned facilities available for counties to use in the August and November 2020 elections, expands civic duty leave, requires ADOA to assist counties in providing proper equipment and personal protective equipment. Then there's the Arizona Department of Forest and Fire Management. They did lift some restrictions for certain counties, but we are not one of them. The fire restrictions in Gila, La Paz, Maricopa, Mojave, and Yuma counties all remain under restriction. The census, we are doing okay. We can do much better. It gives a breakdown of the counties. In our medium-sized counties, we have the response rate of 56.8%, so we're kind of right there in the middle. We're hoping for better. So everybody make sure to fill out your census, go online. If anyone needs to know how to do that, you can go to our website or contact any of your supervisors, I am sure. And I think that is it.
Okay, we just had a person join us that's sitting next to another person, and just so you know, we're strictly enforcing the social distancing and the mask wearing in the auditorium unless you have an exemption. Yes. I think we're still enforcing the social distancing regardless. Attorney Esplin, can you advise on that?
I think we're still following social distancing. I'm not sure.
Okay. Thank you very much. So our county attorney says even though you're married or you're a family, you still have to social distance just for this meeting. And then we have a gentleman over here. I'm assuming you have a medical exemption, sir, for not wearing a mask? Thank you. And then there, is that Judge Warta? No, you've got a face shield? Couldn't see that from here. Thank you. Okay, I think we're ready to call on Supervisor Watson.
Thank you, Chairman Bishop. I had hoped to have a comprehensive report on Colorado River water this morning and also the Wallapai Aquifer, but I'll forego that until our next meeting, as it will be a lengthy report. We have many things to do today, including the budget. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And my report, like Supervisor Gold, I attended the Workforce Development meeting via telephone, also the CSA Executive Board and the Tri-City Council, all by teleconference. And also I've attended the Ducey, Governor Ducey conference calls and Lake Mojave Rancho's Fire Department. So going on now to the County Manager's report, do you have anything for us?
Madam Chair and board members, due to the lengthy board agenda, I do not have a report for you today.
Okay, thank you for your brevity. Next item would be a request for a motion to approve the July 6, 2020 Board of Supervisors regular meeting minutes and the June 1st, 4th, 11th, 15th, 18th, 22nd, 25th, and 29th, 2020 Board of Supervisors special meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, we'll go on now to the call to the public. The in-person call to the public portion of the Mojave County Board of Supervisors meeting is allowed following social distancing and CDC guidelines. However, comments can be submitted to the clerk of the board no later than 5 p.m. on Friday prior to the board meeting. Madam Clerk, do you have any written comments submitted? Okay, we do have one person that's here, Joy Bancroft. You have 3 minutes to tell us what's on your mind. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Madam Chair and Board of Supervisors. My name is Joy Bancroft, and I live in Topak, Golden Shores. Nice to see you all face to face. Golden Shores recently had a Q&A with a candidate running for election, and he said we shouldn't have to spend so much time going to Board of Supervisor meetings and emailing county departments to get our issues and matters resolved. But I'm not sure how to take that. But I think he meant Golden Shores deserves help without begging for it. But I can tell you that bringing matters to your attention, we all get to see the problem, the solution, and the successes. And I hope outside of making decisions for the county, you too see gratification for the successes. So let me share a few that I want to share today, and then I'll go to a critical subject. First, thanks to the individuals in the county who made it happen to get the meth house on Monarch after 9 years demolished. Thank you, Tim Walsh. And also they removed a burnt motorhome on Casa Grande. It was awful. Secondly, thanks to the Sheriff's Department for the last month, there was a lot of hard work. They conducted 10 arrests, impounded 3 cars, 1 was stolen, and raided 2 drug compounds. Thank you. So let's jump to a really different subject, really important. How does a sanitary district, through its board, be allowed to mislead residents of Golden Shores by telling them that they have no power and no longer have a purpose? This board, who pushed through a measure to vote on dissolution under our noses, is disheartening. This board said they would leave it to the taxpayers in a yes or no vote, and it didn't matter to them one way or another. In 2 meetings, they misled, backpedaled, and threatened to raise our taxes. Oh, and the catcher was the alarming audit and the fact that if it was dissolved, the county would get $185,000 of the taxpayers' money. Oops, sorry. So that brings me to this card. Someone or some entity spent around $1,500 to have a postcard sent to all P.O. Box residents in our community for 2,000 people. So who initiated this postcard? It has no return address. The card has false, illegal statement about if you mail in a ballot, you can change your vote at the ballot box. Not to mention a lot more false statements in this card. So who has something to gain? So who has something to gain from sneaking this through, this postcard? The board says they didn't do anything about the card. They didn't know anything about it. They didn't take a stand, yes or no. But a board member published a statement urging people to vote yes in the community newsletter. So it's too late now. We did file some complaints with the pertinent authorities. But how does this happen? This measure should have been invalidated based on the board representing the best interests of the community. So I ask you and the Elections Department, if this measure passes, we certainly hope someone takes note. This was falsely pursued and misrepresented to the residents of Golden Shores. Thank you.
Thank you. Attorney Esplin, would you like a copy of the card that this lady is referring to?
I think I already have a copy. I already have a copy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that concludes our call to the public, and I will now close that and go on to our presentation. We have an update to the Board of Supervisors on current employment numbers, contributions to the community, and current expansion project by Dot Foods. Is Mr. Rocky Verant here?
Good morning, Supervisors, and thank you for the invitation to allow me to come and update you on Dot Foods and where we've been and where we're going. I have a short presentation. It won't take more than a few minutes. My name is Rocky Becerra. I'm the general manager at Dot Foods. Came here in early April of 17 to help get the location up and going. I've been with Dot for 12 years. As mentioned, we broke ground in 2017. I think a few of you in the room were there for that. It was a pretty awesome celebration. We moved in just about 10 months after that in January, started training, and shipped our first cases out in March of 2018. The original size of the distribution center is approximately 190,000 square feet. We have an expansion that we just completed. That expansion broke ground in January of this year, and we got our CO just a few weeks ago in July. The addition was 70,000 square feet of additional frozen, space as well as cooler dock, dry storage as well as dry dock, some other miscellaneous things such as a couple extra offices for the staff to occupy, conference room, etc. Employment, I ran these numbers, I believe it was last Thursday. We have 233 total employees in Bullhead City. Of that, 91% are full-time, or 212, and with 21 part-time employees. Of the 233 employees, 205 are Arizona residents, and the other Nevada and California. Charitable contributions. One thing that we do well in all locations is we try to integrate into the community as much as possible. We don't want to just set up shop and not really be part of the community. We live here and we love the area. So in turn, we love to give back to nonprofits, and you can see some numbers there. In 2018, we gave $55,000 in charitable contributions to 30-plus organizations. In 2019, that number went up substantially, $110,000 given back to nonprofits for over 40 organizations. And then this year, quite honestly, the requests for monetary donations have not come in like they have in the previous 2 years. Lots of people aren't meeting, obviously. Nonprofits aren't as active. But what we did, just in Bullhead City alone, we've given out over 350,000 pounds of food to the local food banks. And that's something that is hopefully valued in the community and gone to a really good cause, and we're happy to do that. As far as the pandemic, DOT's not immune to the coronavirus. 88% of our customers are food service related customers. So think of Cisco, U.S. Food Service, Shamrock. They supply the schools, the restaurants, concerts, so forth. When that faucet was turned off, so was a large part of that 88% of our business. The 12% of our retail business grew pretty heavy, but that 12% growth couldn't make up for the 88% that we took a big hit on. So currently, as of today, Bullhead City is about at 65% of our budgeted pounds or budgeted volume. So we're coming back up. We were making a nice steady climb. We got to the mid-70s, and then California and Arizona and Nevada tightened the belt back up again and closed things down or restricted it. So it turned us back down a little bit. We are not currently hiring for growth, as you can imagine, based on the numbers I just gave you. We are hiring for replacements, so you will see some jobs posted. But until we get back into a more common operating world, we're probably not going to hire for growth. DOT is financially stable, luckily, so we don't have any fears of closing down. There's no layoffs, nothing like that. So we're weathering the storm, and we're doing the best we can to tighten the belts and be as efficient as possible. And again, as the last bullet point states, we are confident that this will turn around, and we're confident to continue growing in this area, and we're happy to do so and love the area. So with that, that's a quick update. I'll be happy to entertain any questions.
Does anyone have any questions of the speaker? Supervisor Gold.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Rocky, I just want to thank you on an outstanding presentation, and you hit the question. My question was going to be, how bad is your business off? And you've answered that question. But thanks for coming down. Thanks for your support of the community also.
Thanks, Supervisor.
Madam Chair.
Supervisor Angus.
Thank you so much, Rocky, for coming. I want the public to know that at the beginning of all of this, I think it was in May, you guys were instrumental in helping the community. We had several events where people did drive up and they got baskets of food, and it was remarkable. I think thousands of people took advantage of it, and Dot Foods was the main sponsor. And thank you so much for that, and it's just part of what you always do, which you give back to the community. So I just wanted everyone to know just how important you are to our community and to the county at large.
Thanks, Supervisor Angus.
Anyone else? Supervisor Watson?
Rocky, I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Well, thanks again for the invitation, and I'll be happy to come back at any time for further updates.
Okay, thank you very much. Going on now, the following items listed under the consent agenda will be considered as a group and acted upon by one motion with no separate discussion of said items unless a board member so requests. In that event, the item will be removed from the consent agenda for separate discussion and action. Supervisor Johnson, do you have any item to remove?
Nothing, Madam Chair.
Okay. Supervisor Watson?
Nothing, thank you.
Supervisor Angus?
53, 54, and 69.
Okay, Supervisor Gold?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Items 14, 19, and 21.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve items 5 through 69, except 14, 19, 21, 53, 54, and 69.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll go now to item number 14. This would be to approve a contract for the high-risk prenatal program for community health nursing. This was put on by the Department of Health. Okay, Supervisor Gold.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I just wanted to hear Denise talk about something other than COVID, so I thought I'd call her down here and make her explain what is the high-risk perinatal program.
Supervisor Gould, members of the board, and thank you for the opportunity to talk about something other than COVID. It's refreshing, too. The high-risk perinatal program is a program in which we do home visiting for those individuals that have a child that's been in the NICU, the Newborn Intensive Care Unit, for up to 5 days. And so we want to make sure that developmentally and health-wise that we're marking milestones for those families and those children along the way. And then if need be, we'll connect them with resources and into resources to ensure that they're getting their needs met. So the program is vital in that sense in the home visiting piece, which has been more of a challenge, of course, because of COVID. But we have a very high case count in our county, particularly, and trying to do this work and ensure that the needs of these children are being met. The families really are the key stakeholders in this, of course, but just making sure that we're there to do developmental testing and do health screenings to make sure that those developmental milestones are met. And when they are, great. If they're not, we continue to link them to resources.
And Denise, this is a voluntary program?
Yes, correct.
And it looks like the state pays us to do this?
That's correct.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any other questions of the speaker? I'll entertain a motion then.
Madam Chairman, I move that item 14 be adopted.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Going on to item number 19. Speak to ratify the adoption of resolution number 2020-104, approving the intergovernmental agreement between the State of Arizona Department of Housing and Mojave County for contract 50121 CARES Act. Supervisor Gold, I believe you asked for this to be pulled?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Dave, is this an existing program, or is this something that just came out of Washington?
It's been existing, the short-term rent mortgage utility. We haven't done it here in Mojave County in the past. What we normally do is permanent rental assistance for HOPWA clients, people with HIV/AIDS. So this is something new that came out of the CARES Act. So for people who have HIV/AIDS, and it's short-term, so it's one-time assistance or a couple of months assistance versus long-term permanent assistance.
So it came out of the CARES Act, but it's targeted towards people with AIDS?
Yes.
And then people with COVID?
Yeah, well, the people that have been impacted.
Okay,
So,
financially impacted,
Yes.
which is pretty broad.
yeah.
Yeah, I was just curious that if it looked like it came out of the CARES Act, but yet it's targeted towards HIV/AIDS, so I thought that was interesting. But thank you, sir.
Okay, any other questions for the speaker? I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chairman, I'm going to move that item 19 be adopted, not that I support the creation of fiat currency from Washington, just because if we don't take it, somebody else will.
Second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item number 21, also pulled by Supervisor Gold. This would be to approve the ADOT Equipment Services service pricing menu effective July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021 for the purchase of fuel for Mojave County vehicles.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Ma'am, I had a question. What is an ADOT fueling station?
So this is like when we travel to Phoenix, it's the ADOT-owned fueling systems. This is an IGA for us to fuel at those locations rather than at a regular gas station.
So ADOT has its own fueling stations?
Kind of like how Mojave County has its own fueling station
Okay.
here. It's just an IGA, so when we're traveling,
So
we can
you
pay their
might
rates.
stop at the ADOT's yard and wiki up and get fuel there if they have a
Roughly,
tank
if they
full.
happen
Yeah.
to have one. I'm not sure where they're all located,
Okay.
but yeah.
I was just unclear whether that was a fancy name for gas station that takes our credit card.
Nope, not at all.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for the speaker? I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chairman, I move that item 21 be adopted.
I'll second. Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item was pulled by Supervisor Angus. Item number 53. Approve the November 2020 election support request from the various districts listed on the agenda. Supervisor Angus.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted this to be explained to the public, and when you voted, usually there's maybe a lot more offices to be voted for, but this year we had some special considerations.
Beautiful, thank you. Good morning, everybody, supervisors, and thank you for allowing me to come up to speak on this. We have, in November elections, what people think about, which is happening tomorrow, so if you haven't gone out and voted, please do so. Tomorrow's a primary election, which mainly has just county offices, state and federal offices on it, which is a primary election, which basically takes you, it's a nominating process. Who goes from, I like to always say this, it's like the NFC and the AFC. They're vying for the Super Bowl, right? So we lay that out. We have very few local offices on a primary election. The general election is set for all those who have won, we'll say, all those who are going to go on to, the next step to actually be elected. Now, special districts, is which I bring in front of the board every 2 years when it happens, is to approve us holding elections for special districts. Special districts are fire boards, water boards, sanitary boards, and things like that are scheduled to have elections, actually most all of them, on November, general election years of even-numbered years. That being said, you can see we have a whole slew full, and that actually pretty much lists most all special districts that are elected boards in our county down there and how many seats they have. I work with the boards to try to make sure that they got it correct. Let's put it that way. That, from time to time, they have people that administer their elections. We'll call them, like in a fire district has an administrator, or these special districts. And they, every 2 years, it's either a vote for 3 or a vote for 2 if it's a 5-person board, or a vote for 2 and a vote for 1 for a 3-person board, and some real oddball ones out there's a vote for 5. Put that aside, But overall, we come to ask to approve to hold election support for them. They then, if they have to go to an election, excuse me, I'm backtracking off of something. Gotcha. What we do is we hold election support for them. We have an election, and unless the election is available to be canceled, an election may be canceled for a special district or a school district if the number of seats to fill are the people who apply, for instance, will say circulate nomination petitions, okay, to fill a particular, if it's a vote for 3 and 3, 2, or 1 people did it, we can come in front of the board, which I will come in front of the board on the September meeting for those districts that met that criteria and ask if we can cancel their election and have the Board of Supervisors appoint them as being elected. Okay? It's been going for years. It works very well. And what it does is it saves the cost of having an election for these special districts, which is, it's not really cheap. Okay? But it comes down to it. So it works out that way. So this is just, we'll say, the original slate. And right now, I'm looking at most all these districts to be able to be canceled and appointed come November, with but a few out there with contested races. That is the best explanation I can give. I hope it covered everything. I probably covered more.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Anybody have any questions of the speaker?
Madam Chair.
Supervisor Gold.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Alan, I just wanted to thank you for helping Yucca Volunteer Fire District get their election on the ballot. I know you had to.
Absolutely, positively. And I want to apologize to Jenny for doing something that kind of almost went past her. And I want to thank Barbara for finding it, okay? I would have seen it on Monday, but I didn't get a chance to look through it. But thank you so much, okay?
Thank you, Alan.
You bet.
Anyone else have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you
Mr.
all.
Kemper.
Take care.
Madam Chair, I move that we adopt item 53.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 54, pulled by Supervisor Angus. This be to approve the Memorandum of Understanding between Mojave Substance Treatment Education Prevention Partnership and Mojave County Probation Department. Supervisor Angus.
Thank you. I just want this explained a little bit more.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Supervisor Angus, this is a specialty court program. MSTEP received some federal funding through a grant to help with the opioid addiction in our community. And as part of that, a specialty court, which is based off of a similar structure they've done in the past, where probation will come in, provide the case management supervision, if you will, help connect that defendant that's put in the program, get connected with treatment as quickly as possible. So it's much like a drug court.
Okay, so if I remember correctly, there was a grant that we funded somebody in the courts. I don't think I may be wrong, but was that a probation person, or is this in addition to that? Because don't we have somebody at the jail that's doing the same thing?
Not with probation.
I know not in probation, but at the jail itself, in the sheriff's office.
There might be somebody there to identify and help.
Okay.
I couldn't speak to that, frankly, but with this program, we're doing the field community, the supervision in the community, doing our risk assessments, developing case plans, connecting with treatment.
Okay. When it says project grant awarded to MSTEP will not be covered with existing fees account funds, what does that mean?
Well, I think that might be a typo, because the paperwork I submitted indicated that if there's a shortfall in the grant funding, the balance would be covered by our fees account. But we did indicate it would be zero impact to the county budget.
Do you think that's something that needs to be changed in the motion
The word
itself?
"not" should be
the wording?
removed, in my opinion. And I don't have the supporting documentation with me, but the board action forms we completed and provided with this indicated that we would cover that out of fees if there was an overflow.
Ryan?
I recommend that we change that if you can, that last sentence, correct?
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
if that's what you wished. That's a good idea.
all right, so what exactly am I supposed to say at the end here?
Regarding that last sentence, if you just remove the word "not" after MSTEP will,
Okay.
Essentially letting everybody know that if there is money the grant doesn't cover, that we will cover that with our adult fees account.
Right, but it's neutral to the county. There's no money coming out.
No impact to the county at all.
Okay. I'm ready to make a motion.
Sure.
Then I'll make a motion to approve item 54 with the wording changed. Project grant award to MSTEP will be covered with existing fees account funds.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor
Second the motion.
and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 69, pulled by Supervisor Angus. This would be ratification of the response sent out to the DOI on building and rebuilding monuments to the American heroes based on input received from board members. Supervisor Angus.
Thank you. I just thought that this was important enough to speak at this level. I don't know who's going to speak to it. Maybe you or Sam or...
Supervisor Angus, I'd be more than happy to read the letter that was put together and sent to in response to this request. This is dated July 31st, and it's to the Honorable Donald L. Bernhardt, Secretary of the Interior. Dear Secretary Bernhardt, Mojave County has reviewed the contents of your July 24, 2020 letter requesting input from local jurisdictions of the President's executive order and requested input from each of our board members. A list of both the proposed locations and American heroes is detailed below. Proposed location, federal land overlooking the Colorado River or Lake Mead on the Arizona side of the Hoover Dam. And as an American hero to be added, John Wayne. The proposed area enjoys natural beauty, a moderate climate, and is in close proximity to the Grand Canyon, which offers hikers some of the most spectacular views in the United States. Additionally, we found that the location is within an hour of a major metropolitan airport, McCarran International, located in Las Vegas, Nevada, and attractions that already draw both local and international visitors. Mojave County appreciates the opportunity to provide input on the President's proposal. Respectfully submitted, Mojave County Board of Supervisors, signed by myself as the chairman. So what this was the President Trump is wanting to build a new national park where these American heroes can be honored, and he's asked everyone to send his input from their area as to where would be a really nice area that would represent American heroes within our county. And this was the location that Mojave County chose, and that will be under consideration. So hopefully we'll get in the final numbers, and maybe Mojave County will be chosen for this very, very nice idea, monuments to American heroes.
Madam Chair, maybe for a little further clarity, it was in response to an executive order. On July 3rd, 2020, President Donald J. Trump signed an executive order on building and rebuilding monuments to American heroes. Recently, many statues and monuments that preserve the memory of our collective American story have been vandalized, destroyed, or removed. President Trump has made clear that his administration will not stand for anarchy and allow our nation's history to be erased. We must preserve the story of America's heroes. That was part of a letter we got from the Secretary of the Interior. The executive order can be found online. But if I'm sure there are a lot of people like all of us on the board who feel this is a very, very important for the President to include local jurisdictions for our input. If we have areas that we could house these statues and our ideas, I was very honored. I'm sure we all were very honored for that to happen. So I just thought that this was an important thing to talk about at this level.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
May I add?
County Manager, go ahead.
Just to point out that the letter arrived last week, and we had a very short timeline to respond. It was too late to get it on the board agenda, so we ended up responding on Friday to be rectified today. With that said, we did reach out to all 5 board members, got feedback, compiled it into the letter that you just read. And the effort was really to answer 3 questions. The first one, sites recommended by the local entity or jurisdiction. The second were any statutes that could be donated to this effort by the locals. And third was the names of any heroes that we may suggest. So we did receive feedback from supervisors. We were very grateful for that. Compiled it into the letter that you just read, and we were able, we think, to satisfactorily answered 2 of the 3 questions, and so hopefully that will help us stay and elevate the location in Mojave County, and who knows, maybe we'll get it after all. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any comments?
Madam Chairman.
Supervisor Gold?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I just want to, there's short timelines, so I limited my input to the fact that I did not want the federal government to declare any more state or private land as federal land to put this monument on. They have plenty of federal land in the great state of Arizona, and they don't need to pull any more land out of the hands of the state or of the people. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I think that was outlined in the information we got, that they preferred that it be on federal lands. Anyone else? Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve item 69.
Second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, we'll go on now to our public hearings. We'll start out with open the public hearing for a discussion of possible action. Ray approve the adoption of Board of Supervisors Resolution 2020-089, a renewal of a special use permit in the Golden Valley vicinity. Okay, I have no one signed up to speak on this item, so I'll close the public hearing. Does anyone have any comments or would like to make a motion?
Madam Chairman.
Supervisor Gold.
I just had a question. Are we limited to only 3 years on these length of special use permits?
Okay. Have Tim Walsh come into the podium.
It just seems like this lady's been here 5 or 7 times, every 3 years. To me, that seems like kind of a burden to put on somebody. Maybe we might want to take a look at running those longer as people get further into their special use permit.
Chairman Bishop, Supervisor Gould, good morning all. I'm just doing a quick check on this, but I believe that and I'm looking at Chris, this was for an indefinite time. So previously, generally with these special use permits, especially for dog kennels, we'll run them for a couple of years at a time. But in this specific case, we've had no complaints, no issues with the applicant. So and actually on the previous time, we had recommended that it be renewed indefinitely. So there will be opportunities for the Sheriff's Office and Animal Control to do their annual inspections. So if there are any issues, we would be notified of that, and then it could be brought to the board to revoke that special use permit. But at this time, we're recommending that it be approved and that she not have to come back for a renewal.
Okay. That is the recommended motion?
That is the recommended motion.
Thank you, sir.
And also, just so you know, Supervisor Gold, we've had a history in Mojave County of some of these kennels not being ran appropriately. So we kind of like to take a look at them for a few years and then do like what we propose to do on this one, make it indefinite unless there's problems.
Okay.
Chairman Bishop, if I may, just to confirm that the following condition, or number 2 of the conditions in the resolution is that the renewal will be in effect without expiration.
Okay. Any other comments? I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chairman, I move item 70 be adopted.
Okay, and I'll second it. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, I'll open the public hearing now for a discussion of possible action to approve the adoption of Board of Supervisor Resolution 2020-091, so rezone in the Wickiup vicinity. So I have one person that's signed up to speak if necessary, Mr. Ed, and I won't even try the last name, but if you want to speak, go ahead. Otherwise,
Radovich, I'm the engineer representing the developer, but the developer's here if he cares to speak.
Okay, if we...
Good.
If you have any questions, I can answer them, but otherwise, I presented the project during the last meeting, so if you have any additional questions, I'm here to answer them.
Okay, very good. Okay, so I will close the public hearing on this, and open it up to comments from the supervisors or questions.
Thank you, Chairman Bishop. I asked for this item to be moved to this meeting for further investigation. The respondents have given us all the information I think that's necessary to make that decision. I believe it'll be an enhancement to the Wiki Up area, and with that, I'll make a motion for approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, I'll open the public hearing now on a discussion of possible action to approve the adoption of Board of Supervisors Resolution Number 2020-092, a request for a rezone in the Hackberry vicinity. So I do have one person signed up to speak on this item. Kevin Nowicki.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, Board of Supervisors. My name is Kevin Nowicki, and I do oppose the rezone. Several reasons for the opposition. I did email an information packet to each of the supervisors. This is, I hope you read it. I used a lot of the materials from your website, including the GIS map outlining the washes in particular that cross that property. First off, I have to apologize for the confusion over the agenda number. The information packet I did email to each of you listed the item as number 4, and that was what I read in the minor. But since then, I discovered it was a different item number, and I emailed a correction saying it was item number 73, when in fact it's item number 72. So I apologize for that. Reasons that we and myself oppose the rezone is it does detract from the rural nature of the area. When this area was first zoned, there were reasons it was zoned AR 36, mostly to maintain the rural nature and to allow for farm, cattle, etc. Plus, any development is miles away from this area, so there's no real urgency to develop it into a higher density area. By allowing higher density in this rezone, there will be more traffic on dirt roads. There are no paved roads out here, by the way, that won't be able to handle the increased use, plus additional dust, erosion, and danger to existing farm animals. Access, Trumpet Way from El Norte to the northern line of the subject property has been abandoned, and the 60-foot roadway has been rededicated to the adjoining landowners. There has been some talk that perhaps the abandonment wasn't done properly, or that the original reasons for the abandonment no longer exist. That may be the case. I don't believe the original Board of Supervisors motion to abandon that roadway contained any contingencies that if the original idea changed, that the abandonment would be forgotten about. The owner, Mr. Chantel, took it upon himself and without permission to trespass across two of the property owners' properties, that's Rodney and Eric's properties, to create Trumpet Way from El Norte. In the process of his trespass, he damaged Rodney's property and threatened and intimidated both Rodney and Eric to violate their property rights. When I bought my property in 2005, it was based on a map that I obtained from Development Services, which is the map I'm holding up now, and it's printed 2:15 in the afternoon on September 2nd, 2005. Based on this map that I used for decision-making on this property was that it was at a dead end. Trumpet Way ends right there. I don't know what that is.
That means your time's up. If you could just wrap it up really quick.
Oh, the additional problems we have are with flooding, as I mentioned on the GIS map. Mr. Kirkland, or Kinlan, had sent an email, and he identified his email was item number 73. I did not see it in the packet. It's included in the agenda item. I brought a copy.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Your time is up.
Okay. Thank you.
We did. We did
Mr.
receive.
Nowicki, if you'll remain there, I'm sure we're going to have many questions.
Oh, by all means.
Yes, in fact, we all received a copy of your letter, so Supervisor Gold, if you have questions, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Sir, I'm looking at the map, and I don't see Trumpet Way on the map. That'd be because it's abandoned.
That's correct. In between the two subject properties.
So it runs between the two?
The abandoned section runs between El Norte and the northern line of the subject property.
Might help if I'm on the right map.
You're on the right map.
I have a larger version of the map if you care.
No, I could get it here if I'd actually look at the right item on the agenda. I was looking at the map for the previous item.
Okay.
I'm going to pass on my question for a moment, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Supervisor Watson.
Thank you, Chairman Bishop. Mr. Nowicki, thank you for coming in today. Really appreciate that.
Thank you for visiting the area.
Organizing the thoughts of the number of people that are opposing this item. That would include Mr. Seward,
Found it.
the Kinlands, Nancy Starr, and yourself. That's the four, I believe, that are opposing.
Yes, sir.
Got a question for you. The person that owns parcel number 3312, do you know who that person is? That's right across from Chantel's application on North Trumpet Way.
Yes, I had been in contact, if that's the right one. 3312, yes, I had contacted him at some point in the past.
And evidently that person was not opposed?
I didn't pose the question as to whether he was for or against. I instead made an offer to purchase his property.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Now, when you access your property, do you go down Antares Way and then go east on California, or how do you get to your property?
There's two ways to get to my property. I can enter California via Antares Road or enter California via Music Mountain, and that is accessed probably off of Highway 66 and mile marker about 77.
Right. I was just there last week, and we were looking at all the properties there and trying to make sure that we identified the right property and whatnot. So on North Trumpet Way, adjacent to the Kinlands property, there's a public easement that runs down on the west side of the fence line. But it looks like the road's been improved. Do you have any idea who might have done that?
Yeah, that would be Mr. Chantel. Had run his graders down there.
So he ran a grader down the public easement on Mr. Seward's property?
Yes.
And he must have evidently removed the gate in order to do that?
Several times, sir, yes.
Who put the gate up, and what's the reason for the gate?
The gate was there prior to me even coming in, and it was a metal gate on hinges, and it was to provide access for utilities. I think the Mojave Electric used it when they first put the poles in.
So it was a gate on hinges so it could be accessible by the utility people?
Yes.
Okay, so, but it appears now that you'd have to take the entire gate down along with a post in order to get a service truck in there.
Yeah, I agree. I believe Mr. Seward became very frustrated with the destruction of the gate, and he put those posts in there.
Okay, so it was Mr. Seward that temporarily put that block?
Yes.
Yep, I see. I understand that now. Okay. So the applicant, Mr. Chantel, is wanting to get a right-of-way in there so he can access all four parcels of his property. It doesn't make any sense to me unless you're going to open up the entire road of North Trumpet Way from El Norte down even past your property. Does that seem logical to you?
Yes, it would impact my property because now you have a thoroughfare from El Norte to California.
Right.
Okay. You figure if he's going to divide it into 4 properties, that's 2 cars per property. There's 8 additional cars, at least, that is going to go down that road. It's going to create dust, erosion, and the road will break down eventually.
Right. And it appears that Mr. Siebert would probably not be willing to give up his right-of-way on that.
That is correct. Mr. Siebert nor Mr. Kinlan, and I believe their letters were pretty strong in opposition.
Right. Okay. So, if Mr. Chantel were successful today, he would have to go on the west side of your property from California on Trumpet Way.
That's correct. That would be his only access, his only legal access.
Well, I'm thinking the only way I would even think about approving this would be with a 45-foot right-of-way, because it just doesn't make any sense if the road's not going to go completely through. And 45 feet would have to service those 4 properties. I mean, you can't have a 30-foot road in front of your property and still be able to ingress and egress properly.
Well, the additional consideration there, sir, would be the flooding.
Right, and the flood issues on the 2 of the washes that are going
Actually, there's 4 crossing all 4 of those proposed subs. Each one of those properties has a large wash, not large, but sizable wash that shows up on the map.
Right.
That crosses those properties that were actually covered up. So now that water is going to come down Trumpet unfettered and do serious damage to the rest of the road.
And Mr. Chantel's already done that.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Madam Chairman, in lieu of the fact that we have 4 of the property owners adjacent to this property, and according to the Arizona revised statutes, that has to be recognized because there's more than 20% of the property owners. It appears it's going to take 75% of those board members present today in order to approve it. Mr. Chantel has not been the best neighbor to these folks. And they're already existing on one of his parcels a mobile home that he's taken into his property. And I have one more question for you, sir. When he brought this mobile home into the property, I believe it's required for a licensed contractor to come in and set up the property. Is that?
That is my understanding as well. And I have to rely on hearsay, and I hope you don't mind, but Nancy Starr was the one who said that she witnessed a white truck bring that mobile home in, drop it directly on the dirt, and leave.
That's what I saw.
And I think she's here to speak today, too.
Oh, is she? Okay. Yeah. I didn't see her. Masks and all, you know.
So with all these reasons, I see no reason for us to grant Mr. Chantel his request. So I'll be making my motion to not approve the adoption of this resolution.
Okay, we do have another speaker before we ask for a second on that motion. Does anyone have any further questions of Mr. Nowicki? Okay, Nancy Starr?
Thank you.
Nancy, if you just give us your name.
Yeah, Nancy Starr.
Okay, you have 3 minutes to
all right.
Tell us what's going on.
I just wanted to say I agree with everything that Mr. Nowicki had to say. And I'm definitely opposed. as are all the other neighbors. And Roger was extremely rude and trespassing on private land. I don't know what else to add. I did witness the trailer being brought in there apparently without permits. And when I was out horseback, I could see that it was set. They had dug a trench out and pulled that trailer in there, so it's kind of below the ground. And the whole area of where El Norte goes down towards California is downhill. So, I mean, that's just a flooding area. I saw he also put in a septic tank without permits that I'm aware of. And that is uphill from the trailer. So that just didn't make sense to me, even though it's not permitted. And all the neighbors are opposed. What else did I write here? Oh, also, yes, it would definitely change the rural landscape. The road traffic speed. Roger speeds by on El Norte in front of my place already with increased dust, and I have grandchildren and livestock and dogs, cats. And I don't think there's anything else new that I can touch on that I can think of. So,
Okay, thank you very much. Let's see if anybody has any questions of you.
Okay.
Does anyone have any questions for the speaker?
Okay. All right.
Ms. Starr, thank you very much for coming in today.
Thank you.
Thank you. In Arizona Revised Statutes 11-814D relating to county zoning indicates that if 20% of the property owners of the area and number within the zoning area file protest to the proposed change, the change shall not be made except by a 3/4 vote of all the members of this Board of Supervisors. Per this statute, 57% of the owners oppose the rezoning and 75% of the area oppose the rezoning. So just wanted to make sure that we're clear on this. We will need a vote of 4-1 minimum.
Madam Chairman, would you verify that we've closed the public hearing?
I have not yet, but I will close the public hearing. And we can take your motion now, Supervisor Watson.
Question for staff.
Okay. Supervisor Gould, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Tim, where's the legal access to this land?
Chairman Bishop, Supervisor Gould, legal access would come off of California and then down to Trumpet Way. Trumpet Way stops at the northwest corner of the property, so they would have legal access entering their property from Trumpet Way where it ends.
So where's the legal access for the two middle lots of the proposed split?
So that was one of the recommendations, or one of the conditions of the recommendation for approval, is that legal access be provided to all of the proposed parcels.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Supervisor Watson.
Thank you, Chairman Bishop. I'd like to make a motion to oppose item number 72, which would be Resolution 2020-092.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
No.
Motion passes. Okay, going on to item 73, I'll open the public hearing for a discussion and possible action to approve the adoption of Board of Supervisors Resolution number 2020-93, request for a rezone in the Mojave County General Area of District 4. So I do have one person signed up to speak, David S. Jones. Mr. Jones, are you here? Okay. Mr. Jones only wants to speak if needed, so I will close the public hearing and open it up for discussion. Or a motion?
Madam Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve item number 73 for the adoption of Resolution 2020-093.
Okay.
Second.
I have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, we'll now go on to open the public hearing for discussion of possible action regarding a bingo license application for AMVETS 19 in Fort Mojave. I have no one signed up to speak on this, so I'll close the public hearing and open it up for discussion.
Madam
motion.
Chairman,
Supervisor Gold.
I move that item 74 be adopted.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, going on to item 75. I'll open the public hearing, setting as the Board of Directors on the Mojave County Flood Control District conduct the truth and taxation public hearing to receive public input on the Mojave County Flood Control District for fiscal year 2020-2021. I have no one signed up to speak on this item, so I'll close the public hearing. Item number 76, I'll open the public hearing, setting as the Board of Directors for the Mojave County Free Library District, conduct the truth and taxation public hearing to receive public input on the Mojave County Free Library District for fiscal year 2020-2021. I have no one signed up to speak on this item. I will now close the public hearing, and we'll go on to item 77. Open the public hearing and conduct the truth and taxation final budget public hearing to receive public input on fiscal year 2020-2021 proposed final budget and tax levy. I have no one signed up to speak on this item, so I'll close the public hearing. Item number 78, sitting as the Board of Directors of the Mojave County Flood Control District, discussion and possible action, adopt the Mojave County Flood Control District tax rate of .5000 per $100 of assessed value and levy of $8,939,551 for fiscal year 2020-2021.
Madam Chairman,
Supervisor Gold.
I move that a tax rate of .4741 be adopted. That would provide the same amount of revenue as last year.
Okay. Coral Lloyd, did you want to speak to that?
Good morning. Board of Supervisors, Chairman Bishop, and Supervisor Gould. The proposed budget that's been included within your packet, adopted with the tentative budget, includes the tax rate of the 50 cents, not the lower rate and not the T&T rate. The 50 cents has been the rate since the district was established back in, I believe, 1987. Certainly, as Supervisor Gould noted, the lower tax rate would produce a lower levy. Much of these, I guess the item of noteworthy to area residents, other than Mojave County residents, that the flood control district revenues are shared with the cities. A portion of those are shared with the cities. So if the rate is maintained, the current rate with the higher levy, then the distribution to the cities is in an equal format. If the lower tax rate or any lower tax rate were adopted with the prior year's levy being the same as this coming year, then the impact to the cities that they would receive the same levy. So.
Okay, does anyone have any further questions of Coral?
Madam Chair?
Supervisor Angus?
So what exactly is the number that we're talking about? How much lower would this be?
The T&T rate is 48.4834, and it would, on a $100,000 home, it would result in a property tax of $48.34, which is $1.66 less over the year than maintaining the current rate of 50 cents. However, the proposal by Supervisor Gould was actually 47, what was it again?
0.4741.
Okay.
So the levy would be the same levy within rounding error of last year's levy
Right.
of $8,476,893.
So it would be $2 and about 60 cents less over the course of the year for a $100,000 home.
Right, but that's just for this district. So if you take into consideration all the other districts, it would be a larger number.
Correct. Mhm. For
I
this
know we're not
district,
there
just for the
yet,
flood
but
control district.
See where it's going. Okay.
Madam Chairman, I might also add that the proposed adopted rate of 0.50 is the maximum rate allowed by Arizona state statute.
Okay. Anyone else?
Madam Chair,
Supervisor Watson.
if I could. The flood control district has many responsibilities. And one of the new responsibilities that are going to be mixed into their job performance will be the opportunity to really impact flood control through the use of water impoundment areas that can enhance the aquifers.
Right.
That's one of the small reasons that bringing up that 3 cents. And I realize that there are some districts it's more important than others. But for instance, in Supervisor Angus's district, there are large projects that the flood control district is responsible for, and many times when there are large storm events, Bullhead City can be impacted tremendously. So I think by reducing the rate or keeping the rate at the same level with these additional responsibilities would not be a wise thing to endeavor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for pointing out the protection for the aquifers in the Kingman area. Very critical right now. Okay, any other comments? We do have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second? Okay, motion dies. Do we have another motion?
Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for item number 78, Mojave County Flood Control District, the adoption of the tax rate of 0.5000 per 100 assessed evaluation, a levy of $8,939,551 for the fiscal year 2020-21.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
Supervisor Johnson? Seconded it, so we'll do a roll call now, Madam Clerk.
Can I make a comment before we vote?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Members, I want to remind you that we're in a health crisis that has turned into an economic crisis. We have more people out of work than we've ever had out of work since the Great Depression. It shouldn't be that government always gets theirs. I think that by holding the tax rate to what it was last year, we give a little bit of tax relief to the taxpayer. That's the folks that we work for. So before we vote, I wanted to remind you of that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Angus, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I do. And I agree in principle with Supervisor Gould. I'd be more amenable to the overall tax rate. Flood control, over the years, we've worked so hard to get, it's just, especially in my district, like Supervisor Watson said, it's so important, and it is something that benefits the citizens, maybe all of them, maybe even more important than the other ones. So although I agree with what Supervisor Gould is saying, and I hope we can talk about it in the future, in the next couple of, for this particular district, I think it's important to keep it the way it is.
Madam Chair.
Supervisor Johnson.
I'd just like to add on to that as we continue to take more and more roads into the county, as the county continues to grow, the flood control district becomes more important for the safety and security of our people. We don't have enough money the way it is now to do all of the flood control projects that are out there, and that's why I'll be voting for it.
Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk.
Supervisor Watson?
Yes.
Supervisor Angus?
Yes.
Supervisor Johnson?
Yes.
Supervisor Gould?
No.
Chairman Bishop?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, going on to item 79, sitting as the Board of Directors for the Mojave County Free Library District. Discussion of possible action, adopt the Mojave County Free Library District tax rate of .2716 per $100 of assessed value and levy $5,461,043 for fiscal year 2020-2021.
Madam Chairman.
Supervisor Gould.
Madam Chairman, I move the adoption of a tax rate of 0.2578 per 100 limited property value that would produce a levy of $5,182,675, which would be the same amount as last year.
And I'll second that one.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I would like to make a comment with what's going on now. Our library, we're having less services. I'm not sure if we have our hours have changed a bit. I mean, is that resulting in less cost as well?
Do you want to?
Okay, we have Kathy Pinnell, the library director, coming forward to the podium.
Good morning. I guess it is still morning. We really don't right now have less costs. In fact, with what we have to do to make our places safe, the COVID, all of that, we probably are spending more. I don't know how long that will go on, as no one does.
How much do you guys have in your reserves right now?
Sorry, I didn't hear the question.
The library, how much does it have in its
in reserve
fund?
I will look it up. We have about, I know that we have about $1 million still in the building, a little bit less maybe by the time we're finished with that project. And we've reserved about $2 million in general terms, if the general is acceptable, about $2 million in the general library fund balance.
Okay.
Ms. Lloyd, is that the amount that is recommended that we keep?
No, we were recommending that we retain the current rate, which is .2716 per $100 of assessed value. The levy would be $5.4 million approximately, and that will generate an additional $278,000 over the prior year, over fiscal year 20, at maintaining the current rate.
Okay, and then the $2 million fund balance reserve, is that the recommended amount?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, it is, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, is anybody else? Supervisor Watson.
Thank you. Ms. Lloyd, let me ask a few questions so I get everything correct up here. The current tax rate is .2716?
Correct.
Okay. And that would have generated 5.64 and $43.
Yes, it would.
As I understand it, Ms. Supervisor Gould wants to reduce that to .2578 to bring that down to $5,182,000. We have some monies in reserve for the library district. How much will it cost, an additional cost, to finish the library on Beverly?
We have, the total project was about $4.5 million, which we budgeted for. The bulk of the costs are going to be coming in this next fiscal year, which should be covered already by what we had reserved. The rate, the T&T rate, if you will, that was proposed from the Property Tax Oversight Committee was .264, so it's in between the tax rate that we currently have and the proposed rate from Supervisor Gould. In that case, the new money, 120, so it's about 50% is paid by the new construction that's coming onto the books for the first time, and about 50% by our current property owners that were here last year and paid. So that would generate $125,000 of related specifically to the new construction pieces of the assessed value, not new construction for the facility. Right. So the facility costs we should have covered under the balances that we had already reserved for the facility construction. We do anticipate that when the new facility comes online and is fully functioning, that some of those costs are going to increase. There will be some efficiencies that will be recognized, of course, but some additional costs. We don't know what that really is yet. So we're waiting, but we do expect there to be some efficiencies overall, but still an enhanced additional square footage.
Thank you, Ms. Lloyd.
Madam Chair.
So if we were to continue, or if we were to accept the .2716, it's the same as it was last year, correct?
2716, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, and I wanted to remind everyone that the library also exists in the outlying areas. In fact, in Dolan Springs, Golden Valley, Mojave, or Meadview, and Chloride, the libraries are in modular units or mobile homes. And then in Mojave Valley, Fort Mojave, and Valley Vista, we rent space for libraries. So just wanted to remind everyone that we have a lot of improvements yet to be done in Mojave County for libraries in the future. Supervisor Angus.
Yes, thank you. So again, when is the expected, you said there'll be more costs when the library is expanded, and when is that supposed to happen?
So she said the beginning of the year.
Beginning of
for the expectation of the opening.
Okay.
And I think to clarify, we did reduce some costs in prior years, to come back to your previous question. And certainly some of the hours were modified, and a few of the days actually were closed in some of the rural areas.
But the library survived on that number that this, it's just the old number. So
yes.
It's more. I just want that to be on the record, that there's more. So they worked in those parameters. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any further comments, questions? Yeah, that was a good point that was brought up. The many of the libraries, the outlying libraries, have reduced their days and their hours to 2 or 3 days a week, and in minimal hours to try to get through all of this. So we have a motion on the floor and a second. So, Madam Clerk, can we do a roll call?
Supervisor Watson?
No.
Supervisor Angus?
Yes.
Supervisor Johnson?
No.
Supervisor Gould?
Yes.
Chairman Bishop?
No.
Motion does not carry.
Okay, I'll entertain another motion.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to adopt the Mojave County Free Library District tax rate of .2716 per $100 of assessed evaluation with a levy of $5.64 and $43 for the fiscal year of 2020 and 2021.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk?
Supervisor Watson?
Yes.
Supervisor Angus?
No.
Supervisor Johnson?
Yes.
Supervisor Gould?
No.
Chairman Bishop?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Going on to item number 80, sitting as the Board of Directors for Mojave County Television District. Discussion of possible action, adopt the Mojave County Television District tax rate of .06 per $100 assessed value fiscal year 2020-2021.
Madam Chairman,
Supervisor Gould.
I move the adoption of a tax rate of 0.0390 for a levy of $763,281.
Could you repeat that number?
Sure can.
.010?
039 for a levy of $763,281.
Okay.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and second. All those, or Madam Clerk, can you do a roll call?
You want to
Madam Chair,
Supervisor Johnson.
I'd like to hear from the TV district first, if they can survive on that, and also maybe if they can explain, seeing how the board has been recently asking the TV district to expand coverage to more remote areas, plus to encompass Lake Havasu City, where, as we all know, we pay the majority of taxes and don't receive full coverage.
Okay. We have at the podium Yvonne Orr.
Good morning, Chairman Bishop, Supervisor Johnson. Your finance director, in her message to the board this year as far as budget adoption, informed you that the district has essentially been operating in the red for a number of years. With the addition of the 2 additional cents, it would structurally balance and we'd stop using the reserves, which are being depleted at a very quick rate. Excuse me. I do have some additional revenues coming back to the district from the FCC repackaging project, but not enough to sustain the operation of the district. Additionally, if we are to look at bringing services to some of those areas that are not currently well covered, we'll be hitting another $90,000 to $100,000 per area that we bring service to. So essentially, we are operating in the red probably for about the last 4 years.
Okay, thank you. And I think that was one of Supervisor Gould's concerns here recently, was the coverage in his district, correct?
Madam Chairman, I believe that the conclusion of that, whether we could serve more areas, was that we would have to pay a higher rate to do that. My folks are already taxed for a service that they don't receive. I don't think that people should have to pay for things to subsidize other people. So effectively, the people in the county that cannot receive the television signal are paying to subsidize those that can. I don't think the idea was not that my folks pay more taxes above that to expand the district, because the people that are complaining because they already don't receive the service. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Supervisor Angus?
Yeah, I mean, every year we talk about the TV district, and, I've changed my viewpoint a little because I do know that people use it. A small amount of people use it, but as cable and TV goes up, and maybe with this whole COVID and the economy going, more people use it, but I never understood why we can't subsidize it from the county, why, in our existing budget. Because we do things within that district. We take money that really has nothing to do with the district. It pays for some people's salary. So I think if we, redo and restructure some of it, and then, I would like the whole thing to be not a taxing district. I don't even know if that's possible, but I think this would kind of force that discussion.
Anyone else? Supervisor Watson.
Just a little bit of a historical note. The Mojave County Television District was organized back in the 50s, I believe, and it was identified then as part of the payment in lieu of taxes, and that was what was kind of paying for it, as I recall. Can somebody help clarify that information? Ms. Orr, do you?
Sorry, I didn't bring it down. Took me a while to get it up on my phone. Chairman Bishop, Supervisor Watson, the Mojave County Television District was formed in June of 1983 for the purpose of acquiring, constructing, improving, extending, maintaining, and operating television translator relay facilities to serve the communities and citizens located within the boundaries of Mojave County. It was determined that the public interest, convenience, and necessity would be promoted to residents of the county who otherwise could not receive television service. I'll get into the resolution. Within the body, I'm not able to find that reference of the original resolution.
I believe prior to 83 that was funded through PILT dollars?
It was actually, there were agreements with WECOM back at that time that brought in a couple of channels in, I believe, the major cities. And it wasn't until 83 when the district was actually formed,
okay,
formally formed.
But I know that there was TV service.
There was, that's correct.
In the late 50s.
I can't tell you the date for certain.
You probably weren't even born then.
But I do know from seeing previous agreements that there is, in fact, there was, in fact, a number of television channels available.
Right. So my logic here is the small amount of dollars that we're going to be asking for in .06 will give us a little bit of leeway to expand the system to service those folks in Supervisor Gould's district that are not being able to be served now. If we were to cut it back, there's no possibility of expansion. Continuing to run in the red. I'll be moving from my residence to an area in the next 18 to 24 months. It will be impossible for the television district to serve my area because it's between two mountains. But I don't mind paying that $2 in property tax to provide those services for the rest of the county. That's really all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. And I would like to say that county residents within my district anyway, they find this service more affordable than cable or satellite. In fact, in some places they can't get cable. So it provides a rate that even low income and seniors on a fixed income can afford. And it's not only a TV district, it's also a multi-use system that provides major broadcast networks to county residents as well as emergency alerts when we have floods or fires or any natural disasters requiring evacuations or missing persons. So it provides more than just television entertainment. And I think Tammy Ersenbach, our economic development director, will tell you that it's a draw to tourism when people find out they can come to Mojave County in their RVs and have television service. So I just wanted to remind everybody that District 4 constituents support the TV district, and they don't mind a couple dollars a year. Any further discussion? Okay, Madam Chair, can we do the roll call?
Supervisor Watson?
No.
Supervisor Angus?
Yes.
Supervisor Johnson?
No.
Supervisor Gould?
Yes.
Supervisor Bishop?
No.
Motion does not carry.
Okay, I'll entertain another motion.
Madam Chairman? if I may.
Supervisor Watson.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the Mojave County Television District tax rate at .06 for $100 of assessed evaluation for the fiscal year 2020 and 2021.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second. Madam Clerk?
Supervisor Watson?
Yes.
Supervisor Angus?
No.
Supervisor Johnson?
Yes.
Supervisor Gould?
No.
Chairman Bishop?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, next item, discussion and possible action.
Chairman Bishop, may I interrupt for just a housekeeping item?
Certainly.
The library director, while they were discussing the TV district, noted that within the motion that was made on the library district, the agenda item was made at $5 million, the levy for the library, $5,641,043. But the correct number is a different number. It is, I'm going to go off my memory here, but correct me if I'm wrong. It is $5,461,043.
Yes.
And so I believe that,
It's in the agenda.
I think that the words, did you get the motion for the right amount, or?
No, it's correct on the... it's correct on the agenda, but I think you're correct. It was stated differently.
Okay. Does it need to be clarified, or is that sufficient for clarification?
No, I recommend we go back and clarify it.
Okay.
I would ask that we do a motion to reconsider that item.
Make a motion for reconsideration
Okay. On item 79?
on item 79.
Okay.
For clarification of the amount of $5,641,043.
You're out of order.
I don't know why yours is different.
It's not out of order.
It should be that amount, 461.
Need to move the reconsideration.
Well, I'm just trying to give her a couple $100,000 more.
Yeah. Supervisor Watson, let's just do first the motion to reconsider the item, and then we can get that clarified.
Motion to reconsider.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion to reconsider is approved.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Bishop, I will make a motion for clarification on the dollar amount on the tax rate of .2716 for $100 of assessed evaluation should be $5,461,043. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
And we'll have to do a roll call vote.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor. I'll second it. Madam Clerk, can you do a roll call?
Supervisor Watson?
Yes.
Supervisor Angus?
No.
Supervisor Johnson?
Madam Clerk, did the attorney call for the roll call?
Yes.
Yes.
This item requires a roll call vote. for this particular item?
It's item 79.
I was just curious on the county attorney. Yes.
Okay. Supervisor Gould?
No.
Chairman Bishop?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Now we'll go on to item 81. Discussion of possible action, Ray, adopt the Holiday Shores Lighting District tax rate of .0125 per $100 of assessed value and levy of $4,183 for fiscal year 2020-2021.
Madam Chairman.
Supervisor Gould.
Madam Chairman, I move a rate of .01195 per $100 of limited property value for a levy of $4,000.
Discussion. Okay. Discussion. This district is not a countywide district. It's just a district that we help out in Bullhead City in my district. So this is their numbers that they need. So again, it's just one of those things that we administratively do, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Right.
It's 100, if you went with the current rate, it's $183 more for the current year, total of $4,183. Last year, we levied $4,000 for that district, and it just pays their electric bill for that
Right.
lighting district.
Is there any reserve or any money that's left over?
It is very minimal. So there's, we put into the budget, if we collected $4,100, the electricity expense based upon a potential, if there's any increases or modifications, we put in $5,870, which exceeds the revenue. But they are carrying over a balance of $1,770. So it's a very small, tight budget. $183 one way or the other probably will not make a difference.
Has
in
anyone
this
ever
particular
complained about
district.
it or wanted it to be reevaluated or anything? Do you ever hear from anybody?
The reason, and actually that you all take this action separately like this, is that there is no longer an active board of directors for that district. So you, the Mojave County Board of Supervisors, are setting that levy for them each year.
Right, and it just pays for the electricity.
That is it.
Like I said, there's not a huge fund left over. And if it ever gets to the point, then that would be...
Right. The projected amount that we thought the electric bills would be for this fiscal year were $4,692. Last year's actuals for fiscal year 19, $4,472, and in 18's actuals were the electricity bills $4,091. So it's right around between $4,000 and $5,000.
Since this is within the city, incorporated city of Bullhead, why did we do this instead of Bullhead taking care of doing this? Is that they can't collect taxes?
I think it was just according to the statute that if a district no longer meets, that their board of directors dissolved, and then it rolls to Mojave County supervisors to take control of that district overall, as you have one or two fire districts in the past.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and this is not a Christmas decorating
It is
anything.
not.
I just want
Street
to point
lighting.
that out because a lot of people, and including myself when I first came on the board, I thought, what is this Holiday Shores?
And Chairman Bishop?
Yes.
Do you know how long it's existed?
Oh, boy. Sonia believes it since the 1970s, in that range, a long time.
So part of the reason, to answer
It's the
Supervisor
city.
Angus's question, is that this probably predated the time that Bullhead City incorporated. The Bullhead City Fire District still exists, and it's still within the Bullhead City limits, so it's kind of a similar thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you for the clarification. That's correct. Anybody know the distance involved with the lighting district? Does it run from, I know it's on Highway 95.
Mm-hmm.
What's the distance? Does it run from Raymar down to
I don't know.
Hancock?
I honestly don't know. Do you
I thought
know?
it was in Holiday Shores myself.
Well, Holly Shores goes from...
I don't know.
Down Raymore, around the bend.
Around the bend.
What?
Yeah, it's just interesting. It just it predates Bullhead City as incorporated city. And I'm trying to remember the developer.
Should be a number lower than that.
Of Holiday Shores.
And I don't see it on there. I got my assistant looking for it, but she came up with she's looking at the wrong thing.
I think it's the highway.
Someone just texted me, that's just one search.
Page up. Page down. It's really hard to see.
Person is saying,
Touch this, can't I?
It's not highway.
Can't touch this.
We've got the laptop and maybe we could put this map here and IT can screen in for you.
Wow, modern technology.
No.
Oh, yeah, I understand now.
My question is it residential or is it on the highway?
You guys are out of your minds. Put it here. Where'd you find that?
Under my files.
You have to log in.
In any case, you may want to ask the city of Bullhead City if we can absolve the district.
Here.
Because those district residents are paying for their own and paying, sales tax on top of that to run the city, so you're getting taxed twice.
There, sign in there.
Right.
I don't need this anymore. Whatever we put on here will show up.
Madam Chair?
Supervisor Johnson, go ahead.
We're going to be here all day on this one. I guess my question would be, how come this isn't Mojave County Board of Supervisors sitting as a Holiday Shores lighting district?
I don't know, Supervisor Johnson.
Maybe we could ask the attorney, who seems to have a lot of input this meeting.
I don't know the answer to that question either. I was just looking through the statutes, and I'm having a difficult time finding where the lighting district falls in the district statutes. So I don't know the answer to that question. I know that the other ones, if you take like the flood control district, the free library district, those specifically say that those things have to be done.
It's under 48,960 street lighting.
Oh, here. Wait a second.
Yeah.
Would you like to address Supervisor Johnson?
It's a county improvement district. Thank you. But
Here's value.
I don't know why we haven't put it under the district of, but I still think we can move forward with it if we wish to.
Big file.
Madam Chair, it was mentioned before that this was similar to the fire district that we had taken over, but I guess that's just the confusing part for me.
How do we do that?
Just change users.
I mean, if it was formed under the county improvement district statutes, then this board would be sitting as the board of directors for that district. Why we don't put that language on here, I don't know, but it still doesn't invalidate this. We can still move forward with it. So it's kind of like...
Okay, I think I'm going to call for a 5-minute break and let you guys figure this out, and the rest of us need to take a little break. So we'll come back in 5 minutes.
You probably know that.
I know.
Okay, we're going to call this meeting back to order.
Oh, no, you're good. What happened?
Yeah.
Well, I got the rate right. I just had to.
Okay, we will reconvene the meeting, and Carl Lloyd, I'm assuming that you've got the information now and we can go forward?
Found a map. Thank you to Nathan and Sonia, as well as a resolution from 1970. It looks like this district is essentially residential. So in looking at that map, like the hard black line transversing, if you will, from the upper right corner to the left side going down is Highway 95, and then it turns basically at a right degree angle back. So this area is off of Raymar Road, looks like Clubhouse Drive area toward the river, which is where this is covered.
It's right next to Old Hardyville.
Answers my question. Thank you very much.
Thank these people
Back when Bullhead City was called Hardyville.
That is exactly right. That is mentioned right there. Old Hardyville.
Thank you. I think Supervisor Angus is going to address this with.
Okay, Supervisor Angus, did you have a comment?
No, it's an interesting thing, and I think I will talk to the city of Bullhead about it and see if it still makes sense today, and maybe we can work something out. But for today, we got to do this.
All right, Supervisor Gold, did you want to go forward with your original motion?
Sure. I don't think it was ever seconded, was it?
It was not, but it could be. Does anybody want to second that motion? Hearing none, the motion dies. I'll entertain another motion.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve item 81 as written.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, can you do a roll call?
Supervisor Watson?
Yes.
Supervisor Angus?
Yes.
Supervisor Johnson?
Yes.
Supervisor Gould?
No.
Chairman Bishop?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much. We're now going to recess from the regular meeting and convene into a special meeting pursuant to ARS 42-17105 to take action to approve by motion and roll call the fiscal year 2020-2021 primary property tax levy in accordance with ARS 42-7107 and adopt the fiscal year 2020-2021 final budget with modifications as desired.
Madam Chairman.
Supervisor Gould.
I move a tax rate for our primary property tax to be 1.85, which would generate a levy of $37,202,296 be adopted.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I'll second that with discussion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Go ahead with your discussion.
This is actually something from left field that I was told this is where we should be talking about this, and something we didn't talk during the tentative budget, but I think that we need to now. And that is the idea that we should have a deputy county manager. Again, if we can talk about this at some other point, but this is where I was told that we should be talking about it. And I'd like to recommend that Yvonne Orr be made the deputy county manager. We discussed it over the course of about having, not specifically Ms. Orr, but having deputy county managers. Over the years, we've gone back and forth whether that's a good idea, but at this juncture where we have a new county manager and somebody with lots of experience to back up for maybe times that he is not available, I think this would be a very good thing for our county and for the continuity of the county.
Supervisor Angus, this is a surprise. Who told you this?
What do you mean, who told me this?
You said you were told that this would be the time.
Sam?
Madam Chair, Supervisor Angus, last week this subject was floated. The idea that it would be good for the county manager to have a backup was mentioned to me. I was asked if I would support it and if I'm okay with it, and my response was yes. I don't have any objection. I thought it was a timely activity to take place. So my recollection, even going back to when I was interviewed, one of the board members asked me if I needed a deputy. At that time, my response was, I'd like to assess that when I get on board and make that decision. I think the timing is good to have that continuity and to have a backup. Ms. Orr currently functions in many ways to back up the county manager. She brings historical knowledge and set of skills that I think is suitable for that. So I'm okay with it. I support it.
Isn't the current rate 180?
Okay. Thank you very much, County Manager. And I agree, Yvonne Orr is amazing and very valuable. And pretty much functions as the deputy county manager without the title and probably without the pay. It would have been nice to discuss this during the budget process, but you weren't on board yet, Sam. So I just think more discussion needs to be held on this before we change a budget and right in the final stages of the budget process. But I'm open for conversation to see what everyone else thinks about this, and maybe we need to increase the I don't know.
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
If I may, the included in the budget is a salary adjustment for multiple directors and department heads, including Ms. Yvonne Orr. So my response to this is supporting the action, the title change, but my understanding is that would have no impact on the budget because there is a pay increase in the budget that addresses the change.
Madam Chair?
Supervisor Johnson.
I don't think that adjustment in there that was considered for the administrative assistant's position was even close to what that position should have paid. I don't know, I guess I would hate to do it, but I would ask Mr. Esplin if we could set the salary or at least the salary range to be negotiated with Ms. Orr if this was to go through.
So this is Mr. Ryan Esplin answering the Supervisor Johnson's question so he can hear. We can make the modifications now. This is the time for the budget. This is the item to do it. As to the salary amounts, they can set it right now. It'd probably be a good idea to talk to Yvonne Orr about this to determine what she wishes. But that'd be difficult, but you can certainly try to do it right now if you want. But we could set the salary right now if you wish. This is challenging. I mean, you have somebody here where you're trying to give them a new title, but then there's going to be salary issues you're going to have to figure out. And I assume that she would accept an increase. I hope so, but you're going to have to figure out whether she'll do that or not. And she's right here. I'm talking right here, and Yvonne is present with us.
I guess, Madam Chair.
Supervisor Angus, go ahead.
I guess the things we do the title change, and can we do, just like Supervisor Johnson said, can we bring it back and negotiate? Can we do it next meeting, negotiate and you can be negotiating and you bring it back to us next meeting? I mean, I would have waited. I didn't realize we had to do this now, or else it wouldn't have been, and I apologize for that. But since we have to do this now, do we have to do the whole thing, or can we do the salary next meeting?
Well, normally we have to set the budget, and so you set the, let me finish, okay? So you set the budget, and then when you need to make changes, you have to bring it back to the board, and the board can make changes, right? That's how
Yes.
that's how we know. Occasionally throughout the year, you'll see changes, and you'll see on the item modification to budget and so on, and so the law allows us to do that. I'd be hesitant to put us off another 2 weeks, or month, excuse me, another month, given that you put in a budget. You put in, this is how much this is, and this is the budget, and then we go forward with the budget, and then if you need to make changes, you make those changes. So I'd be hesitant to not have any salary right now because it's not in the budget. You want to have something in the budget.
Supervisor Watson?
Madam Chair?
Hold on, Supervisor Johnson. Gary Watson is speaking.
Go ahead and recognize Supervisor Johnson first.
Okay.
Thank you, Supervisor Watson. Madam Chair, we always build in a cushion in our budgets, so it's not like it's the money's not there and already there. It just hasn't been spent yet. So we could address the issue of the salary today if everyone is willing to do so without an adjustment to the top end of our budget.
Supervisor Watson?
Thank you. Thank you, Supervisor Johnson. Yeah, it's pretty simple. We adopt the budget today. We're going to make an adjustment to Ms. Orr's salary at some point down the line. That's why we carry a contingency. It's a pretty simple operation, as I understand it. Is that correct, Ms. Lloyd?
I agree with you that we can certainly establish a range today, or give an estimated amount and go through contingency for any difference, for the full amount, as far as that goes.
Right, and I would certainly hate to make a decision today in haste and not have an ample amount of time to research it and to have that dialogue with Ms. Orr. I have a question while you're standing there. I did not bring my book down, so I'm working off this, which is a little clogged sometimes. But I believe that the current rate is 187 point. What's our current rate for?
The current tax rate?
Yes.
Is $1. I better look at it to make sure. $194.96 it should be. Oh, where is it? Yes, $1. 1.9496.
19496. And that generates 38 million, how much?
So that would, at 100% of the taxes were received, that would be 39,200,000. This has got a bunch of zeros in it, so 39,200,478. So 39.2 million. So that is an increase of 1,998,000, of which 924,000 of that is from new construction coming onto the books for the first time. The remaining amount, about $1 million, is from the existing taxpayers.
Right. Is there any reason why that wasn't included in the item?
Is it what?
Is there any reason why it wasn't included in the item? We included it in the special districts and everything else. So.
It was included in the public hearing portion.
The backup public hearing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the way that we write it up, it's in the third paragraph on this section. The proposed primary property tax rate of $1.9496 for fiscal year 2021 would generate $39.2 million. The truth in taxation rate is $1.89. I'm rounding the 4 digits, $1.89. And it would generate a levy of $38.1 million. So that is what we included in the backup documentation on this.
Right, 38.1.
And in addition, there are some other changes that I need to advise about that are recommended, staff recommended. if you are prepared for that. Ready to go, okay. Items of note in addition to what is already included in your packet. This one is just a housekeeping item that included as a new initiative within the budget, but not cited as a new initiative, was an office assistant and a vehicle and community services. It is covered by grants. The money's already been included. It just wasn't cited as new initiative. So we wanted to be really transparent about that. Other items would be anything that you adopted today, such as the probation position that would be added back, and then the county attorney's office. In discussion with the sheriff's office, the county attorney's office would like to propose to bring in 3 positions this coming fiscal year in order to redact confidential footage from body camera imaging. So some of that information that they would need to go through and redact would be social security numbers, certain driver's license numbers, body images, children, things like that, that would be confidential in nature. They've noted that at times there may be, in a criminal case, maybe 6 officers on scene at the time, sometimes multiple jurisdictions, and they need to take the time to review each of those cameras as they're taken in different angles and things like that. They're requesting that. That I would estimate to be about $180,000 that we would need to include in this budget if that were proposed and approved. And then the final item that I'm aware of, unless somebody else brings something on the floor, is a reduction in the sheriff's office budget for tasers. They have about $67,000 in tasers in the budget as a separate line item. However, if and when the body cameras are approved, they come back before the board and approved, that technology is intended to include tasers, and then these tasers, when retrieved, would automate the camera to turn on. So those tasers would be included, in which case the sheriff's office called and requested that they be very transparent about that they would no longer need that line item if it were included in the package. So with that, I believe that's all of the modifications, unless somebody else has something that I missed.
Ms. Lloyd, I have a question.
I have one more question, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Ms. Lloyd, I'm trying to get my arms around this total cost of the body cameras, and I don't have that number yet. We're asking for 3 additional people, roughly $180,000, and I don't think we know what the cost of the body cams are yet. Do we have that kind of nailed? Do we have a parameter for that?
I don't know if somebody from the sheriff's office here wants to speak about it. I don't have the information in detail, and I would assume that that would either be provided later, but it looks like, there we go.
You did very good trying to explain it.
Thank you for coming down, Sheriff. My question is, I'm trying to get my arms around the cost of the body cams, the software, and the additional people. There's a motion on the floor for a reduced amount of the property tax, and I'm trying to figure out if we can cover our cost with that. So if you can give me an idea what this is going to cost.
Okay, Supervisor Watson, I'm glad you asked that question. As you recall, at the beginning of the budget cycle, funding source was found. It wasn't at my request, but it was offered up, and I said, well, of course we'd like body cameras. I wanted to make clear at that point, I just like to restate my position. We're still focused on staffing, so if we do move forward with body cameras, I don't want this to affect future requests for staffing, because that is our priority, but if there is a funding source, absolutely,
absolutely, they're a very good tool. What we did, we actually did a comparison study between 3 companies, 2 mainstream companies that are in wide use nationwide. And what I'd like to do is I'm going to turn it over to Lieutenant Padilla. We put together a group of senior officers and command staff to evaluate those 3 individual companies and make a recommendation to me, which they have. I'll let him explain it to you. It's a very short presentation. It covers the dollars and cents of all the programs. And then if you have questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, Supervisor Watson. So since the whole the body cams have come up, like the sheriff said, we did put together a presentation, and we did a comparison of 3 companies, one being Axon, the second being WatchGuard, and the third was Wolfcom. So out of those 3 companies, Axon Body Cam 3, total cost for 5 years is $1,252,606.37. So the first year initial cost would be $323,722.13. And then following years 2 through 5 would be $232,221.06. So that's through the five-year plan that they offer. With that price of the 1.252, that includes 90 Taser 7s. Currently, the Sheriff's Office is using the Taser X2. Last year, we had to purchase 40 more Tasers because of some were getting old, outdated, and they needed to go away. So we purchased 40 at the tune of $67,000. So with the package that we're with Axon, they offer a Taser 7 package, which would be included with the body cams. And that's 90 Tasers, 90 body cams. So if we were just to go with the body cams with Axon, the total cost for 5 years would be $873,266.30. First year would be $231,182.13. Years 2 through 5 would be $160,521.06. That's just for the body cam. That's not including the new Taser. So the pros with the Axon field of view, they have the biggest field of view, which is 146 degrees. So it's going to capture the most looking out. It's 128-bit encryption security. Supervisors can live view. And with that, we can set up alerts to go to the supervisors. So say we want to set up an alert that a deputy pulls his Taser out, it'll send an alert to their supervisor, and they can actually start watching live what's going on, why that deputy just pulled his Taser, why he just pulled his gun, why he just turned on his lights. There's a whole bunch of trigger systems that Axon offers that you can put in place. That standalone cost is $153,000 with that feature. With Axon, you can add 8 vehicle triggers that will automatically turn their body cams on. So that's turn on your lights, hitting the button to pop the shotgun, rifle. If they open that up, it'll turn their body cam on. So that way, if something bad happened right away, and the deputy couldn't hit his body cam to turn it on, it's already going to be on because this is what's going to happen. It's going to turn it on automatically. And you can add up 8 vehicle triggers with that system. Axon's the only company that offers vehicle triggers. Handgun Taser sensor trigger. So Axon offers a thing where as soon as I pull out my firearm, it'll trigger my cam to come on, automatically turns it on. Deputy doesn't have to do it. Same with the Taser. 90% of the Arizona agencies use Axon. Evidence share direct to the county attorney's office, who already has the Axon software because Lake Havasu PD and Kingman Police Department use that. It's an Arizona-based company. Their factory and main offices are in Scottsdale. For 5 years, there'll be no additional cost to replace or repair taser or body cam.
Right. My next question is, how many additional people are you going to be requiring in order to run this system?
We've asked for 1, sir.
1, and then the court system has asked for 3.
The county attorney's office, yes, sir.
So in initiating the system, we're bringing on 4 more people, countywide.
Countywide, yes, sir.
Right. Okay. I think I'm getting a handle on it. I'm getting close.
Yeah, so also with Axon, they offer free instructor training for 5 years. We already have taser instructors within our department. They offer 1 additional, so our taser instructor will go free for 5 years for updates and whatnot, and we'll add an additional 1. Free virtual training equipment. What that is, it's just a VR system that the deputy can wear, and you run them through scenarios, so they're getting training. So that's all free. You can integrate dash cams later with Axon. And one neat feature is Axon Citizen for communities. And what that is if a deputy's on scene and someone says, hey, I have evidence of what happened, they video it on their phone, because everyone has a phone now that takes video, or they have pictures, they took pictures. The deputy can give them a link. That citizen can then upload it straight to that link, and it will attach right to the deputy's case. That way we don't have to take phones as evidence. We can just give them that, they'll upload it, and they can keep their phone. We don't have to deal with anything with their phone.
I think that answers most of my questions.
Okay, I'll make it quick.
Sure.
So the cons is higher upfront costs and annual fees for the Axon. It is a little bit higher. So WatchGuard Vista, the total cost for 3 years is $379,626.70. Per average year is $126,542. Cloud-based storage, just like the Axon. Large storage capacity. Ability to password record and retrieve previous encounters. So with Axon, you can go back 120 seconds, so 2 minutes. With WatchGuard, you can go back indefinitely as long as they don't download the video, download anything else, so they can go back. You can also integrate dash cams. No vehicle weapon triggers is a con with WatchGuard. No taser integration. Smaller field of view was only 135. No plan offered past 3 years, so they only do a 3-year plan, and then you have to renew, so your cost would then go way back up. Required to purchase an extended warranty, whereas Axon offers that. County attorney would need to purchase own software for redaction and training on the WatchGuard platform. So county attorneys are using Axon and evidence.com. They would have to buy more software on top of the additional people that they want, and they would have to go to training and learn how to use that as well. Wolfcom. Total first year cost was $203,572. Additional annual costs, they quoted $17,950, but it's very vague, and the quote that we received didn't have enough to cover what our department has. We have 90 sworn officers, and the quote that we received only came with 78, so it's totally different. And they did not provide a cloud-based quote. They have a cloud-based system, but they didn't provide the quote for that. Now the thing with the cloud-based, the Wolfcom quote came with a purchased servers that would be stored at the sheriff's office. They quoted 1 server, we'd actually need 2. So that's an additional cost. Speaking with IT, if we were to go with an on-site storage system, they would have to hire another person just to deal with all the data and stuff that we're going to generate. So there's an additional cost there with IT. And within 7 months, we'd probably have to buy another server, because there's just so much data that's coming in. We have to follow all the redaction laws and the retention laws. So based on the committee's findings, the cameras themselves are pretty much similar. However, it's what you get on the back end, the support, the security. So deputies under stress will have cameras turn on automatically with the Axon, allowing more footage of stressful situations because there's so many trigger systems in line. The deputy doesn't have to turn it on. It'll do it for you without them having to worry about it. Our recommendation to the sheriff was Axon due to the overwhelming upside to the deputies, the county attorney's office, public, and no support needed from the county ID department. So the county IT is not going to have to deal with this. Axon has it all built in to deal with us, and that's why we brought you the Axon, and we didn't go with the other companies.
I guess I have a couple more questions for the sheriff and just verification. Thank you very much, Spadilla. I realize how important the body cams are, and they could be very significant to the liability of Mojave County down the road. Although Mojave County does experience one of the best rates as far as our insurer is concerned. So this investment is a very important investment, and we get it right. It's a large cost. One additional employee for you, 3 additional employees for the court system. So I'm very much in favor of going forward with this. And the reason I bring this up, I'm hesitant to reduce the amount of property tax below that, which has been provided to us by Ms. Lloyd and her group. So with that, I'd like to thank you very much for bringing that information to us. And it'll be my position to hang tough, make sure you get the money.
Great, and if I could offer a clarification to the board, just so everyone's on the same page. If you look, can I get this screen up again? This is 1.25 over a 5-year period, and this is all inclusive, and it's important to understand that up until body cameras were put into this budget, excuse me, we still buy tasers every year. We have to buy the equipment for it. So this is everything in one package. If a taser breaks tomorrow, we have this plan, it's replaced immediately. There's no additional cost. I'm a fan of this particular system because it's an industry standard. It's recognized nationwide. It's compatible with the county attorney, which is vital, and it's not conducive for us to start bringing in external storage devices. It just is something that we don't want to do, the IT department doesn't want to do. So this amount would be my recommendation to the board, dropping the $67,000 that we put in for tasers this year into the current budget, and again, 5-year standalone system. I think this is the one we need. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the sheriff?
Madam Chair.
Supervisor Johnson.
I have no questions for the sheriff, but just on this, what brought up this discussion was the county attorney trying to squeeze in 3 extra bodies. I see the sheriff has come down. I believe they had an extra body for redaction before when that was first presented to us. Now we've got 3 people in the county attorney's office that want to do redactions. I'm surprised there's going to be anything left on this tape for anybody to even view, but this is a procurement code, a procurement issue, and it's not in front of us today. We already have said go ahead with the tape, with the body cameras to be brought back to us. I would just as soon wait until that's brought back with a complete picture and let the county attorney bring forward what he might need, and Lord knows maybe the courts are going to need something too, for all we know, and then we can always adjust the budget at that time. That would be my preference.
That's fine.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I had one other item, Madam Chair.
Okay, go ahead.
I would just like to see if there's any motion from the board that they might be interested in making our step increases permanent, mandatory, that our employees get step increases. Now would be the time to do it. To say we're putting it into the budget. In all my time on the board, we've never had it. I think it's something that's long past due that these people need. I just thought I'd throw it out there for one last shot. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Supervisor Johnson. Any comments in regards to that?
And Chairman Bishop, if I can just add while the board's thinking about that, currently all we have is a motion to adjust the tax rate. That's it. We don't have a motion to address the budget modifications either. You're going to have to do that as well. So we're both setting a rate and also adopting a budget.
Okay, understand.
Have we have a second on that too?
Madam Chair, yes, we have a motion and a second for the 1.85 tax rate, but anything else that's been discussed after that motion is not included in that motion, just for clarification.
So I have down that we did have a motion from Supervisor Gold.
Right, and a second.
And we did get a second, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this has all been under discussion.
Correct. So any discussion like with the title change or the cameras or anything else that Coral added was not in his motion because it occurred after the motion and second.
Understand.
Mm-hmm. And at some point we need to adopt a budget with any adjustments that you wish to make.
Okay.
So.
All right.
Madam Chair, I guess my question would be then what would be the adjusted budget proposed with this motion?
Supervisor Gold?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. We received $9.2 million from the CARE Act from the federal government. Most of that went into reserve. The easiest way to do the $2 million difference to not have to do a $2 million tax increase would to take $2 million out of that money and put that money into the general fund. Bear in mind the taxpayers, this CARES Act money was created out of thin air by the federal government. They expanded the money supply to do that, and they devalued every resident of Mojave County's pocketbook when they did that. Those folks ought to share in this money that came down from the CARES Act also, and I feel that this is a good way to do it. Thank you.
Okay. Any further
Madam
discussion?
Chair?
Supervisor Johnson.
Thank you. I think the reason we have that money is that we are taking the sheriff's budget and health department's employee budgets, and we're paying for those which we're claiming is under CARES, and that's where that money's coming from. Is that correct, Madam Ms. Lloyd?
That's the way I understand it, but
Yes,
can you
that's correct.
clarify that?
So it is about 9 months of the salaries for the Public Health Department and the Sheriff's Office amounts to the $9 million.
Madam Chair?
And we don't know how much further that this will continue on.
Absolutely.
Madam
Supervisor
Chair.
Angus.
But there was a reason that the state said that we can use it however we wanted because we weren't as hard hit as other counties were. So what we were told was the Arizona CARES money, that with that 9 pointers is why it ended up in the, it wasn't, when we were told it wasn't ended up there to supplement the sheriff and the public health. We can do anything we want with it. Correct?
Well, the CARES money was specific, so the what was adopted by the Board of Supervisors at that meeting was that the CARES money is going to pay for the salaries for between March and December 31st for the Sheriff's Office and the Public Health Department as much as could be, and that freed up the $9 million the Board of Supervisors then can appropriate as you so choose. So the recommendation excuse me, at that point in time then was of the $9 million then that we're going to have, that we put $6 million into contingency, $2.5 million into the capital projects fund, and then this $500,000 dedicated next year for the body cameras. So it really, the Arizona CARES money was pretty specific that it was for salaries for public safety and public health, but then that freed up your general fund dollars to be used for other items.
I really have no recollection of that. I'm going to have to re-watch that. That is not what I remember being told.
Yeah, I actually brought it with me today because it is
Madam
somewhat
Chairman, that's what we
confusing.
call supplanting.
And, you know, and that was brought up in our many meetings.
Generally,
And
if they didn't want us to spend it on whatever we wanted to spend it on, they would have put a clause in there that said no supplanting of budget items.
Right. And so therefore, that's why it is being spent on the
Basically,
salaries, and then that gives you...
It is not earmarked just for, I mean, maybe it was, but it can be used for anything, which is how we ended up with the body cameras.
It can. It's what it's very semantic, Supervisor Angus.
Semantic.
So I would say in effect, if you will, it's exactly what you're describing. But semantically, I must, as your finance director, say that we are using the CARES money for the salaries and benefits for the sheriff's office and your public health department, freeing up what we would have otherwise paid, that $9 million for those salaries. So it's very semantical, but in effect, it is as you described.
Any further discussion?
Madam Chairman, effectively, we moved money from the left pocket to the right pocket.
We did.
That still means that $6 million is there for $2 million of it to not increase property taxes. Thank you.
We do have a motion on the floor that's been seconded. Are we ready to do a roll call?
One more question. How about all those other items? Do we put that in now, or?
It's up to you if you want to amend. If Supervisor Gould wishes to amend his motion and you amend your second, what you could do is you could set a motion, have a motion to set the tax rate as Supervisor Gould requested, and approve the budget as Supervisor Gould recommended. Take $2 million from that $6 million, right, and put that $2 million over so that you're passing the budget as presented with any modifications that you put to it, and those modifications could be the position of deputy county manager and any other modifications that we talked about today. I would also recommend that you set a salary amount for the deputy county manager. That could be an increase. If you wish to do that, you could do that now. You could put that in there, and then if there needs to be changes later on, then you would bring it back to the board for any changes. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. And I just wanted to say, for the deputy county manager position, I'm not comfortable moving forward on that now without further discussion. And I'm perfectly okay for a pay increase, because I think that's warranted and deserved. But deputy county positions is something that's been tried before. It failed, I think, before I want to go forward with the new deputy county position. I would like to have more discussion on that and possibly see if there's other directors that might qualify that might be interested as well. That's what I would like to do. So.
Madam Chair?
Supervisor Johnson.
I don't know if Mr. Cunningham's there or not, but I think they would fall under range 33, and then it should be based obviously on knowledge, skills, and time and grade and all those sorts of things when the discussion comes up.
Madam Chairman, I'm going to call my question.
What are you going to call it?
Calling for a vote on my question.
Which would solely be the tax rate of 1.85.
Correct.
Okay.
Which we do have a motion and a second for.
Okay, Madam Clerk.
Supervisor Watson?
No.
Supervisor Angus?
Yes.
Supervisor Johnson?
No.
Supervisor Gould?
Yes.
Chairman Bishop?
No.
So that motion does not carry.
Okay, does anybody else want to take a stab at it? Supervisor Watson.
Thank you, Chairman Bishop. I'll give it a try. I'd like to make a motion to approve the fiscal year 2020-21 property tax levy of $1.9496. Is that correct?
It is correct.
Thank you. And for the final budget modifications, do we need to outline each one? The modifications?
You could either do them individually or
just include it as modifications?
Yep.
Yeah, you can adopt the modifications that Director Lloyd has presented, but also you can make any changes
as presented
by Director Lloyd,
as presented by Director Lloyd.
And then if you wish to add anything with the deputy county manager, you could, or you could do that, or you don't have to. It's up to you.
I would prefer just to keep it
okay
right here.
Okay, that's your motion. We need a second?
Good.
Oh, it's not his motion. Hold on.
In this motion, we need to adopt the budget with the same motion?
Yes, thereby adopting the fiscal year 2021 property tax levy and final budget with any applicable
And final budget.
modifications.
Okay. So that includes the property tax levy and the budget.
That's correct, and you will also be approving Board of Supervisor Resolution number 2020-097.
Correct.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor requiring a second. I'll second the motion. Madam Clerk?
Supervisor Watson?
Yes.
Supervisor Angus?
No.
Supervisor Johnson?
No.
Supervisor Gould?
No.
Supervisor Bishop?
Yes.
Motion does not carry.
Okay. Does anybody else want to make a stab? Supervisor Watson, you want to reword that?
Supplant with a new motion?
Your vocabulary word for the day. Supplant.
Supervisor Johnson, do you want to make a stab?
Not really. I mean, I can if you want.
Let's go home.
Chairman Bishop, if I may, I'd like to try one more time.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion for the approval of fiscal year 2020-2021 property tax levy and adopt the fiscal year 2020-21 final budget with modifications as set forth by Director of the Finance Department, and approve the Board of Supervisors Resolution 2020-097 by initiating a rate of $1.90 which would be approximately 4.96 below the recommended by Ms. Coral.
Okay, we have a motion.
Motion to discuss?
Go ahead.
Okay. So your motion is to lower the rate, not at the $1.88 that Supervisor Gould did, but at $1.90.
Right.
What is the exact number?
1.90.
1.90. And what are the modifications?
Modifications as described by Coral.
Okay. And before I second that, I want to make sure something that, we did give quite a few raises this year, and we gave step raises and things like that. And like in years gone by, we've always put in that if you've gotten a raise within a 6-month period, that you're not qualified for the 2.5% raise. And I think we talked about it once, but I don't know if we talked about it again.
We have not done that, at least since 2015. So we did not do that.
If people got raises 3 months ago, they'll get another 2.5?
Yes. Overall, yes. So there were some of the reclassifications that were prepared before you or brought before you, and they will not get a reclassification. And for most of those, if that's your question.
Reclassifications.
Yes. Yeah. Most of those will not receive both.
What would be, what do you mean most? What would be an acceptable?
If we have anyone, because the scale, if you adopt the 2.5% increase, the scale will move up 2.5%. So we end up occasionally with people, particularly at entry level, who now are no longer at entry level for a variety of reasons. So we have to move them even if they were reclassified. That's an example of, that's the most common item that occurs. So there were other, I know that I had an initiative in my department for 2 reclassifications, for example, and I wrote into the initiative that if the pay increase were considered and approved, the 2.5%, that I would still want the reclassification to occur. So I think that there were 2 departments. I think there was my department and another department that did that. We do have a number of departments with the step 1 issue that would occur, that we would need to take those a bit higher.
And one more thing, do we need to put the range in for the deputy manager? Or are we still debating that?
That is entirely up to the board.
Yeah, that's currently not in this motion.
It's part of it, okay.
It is not.
Oh,
No,
it's
it is not currently in the motion.
We can do that with a later action through contingencies.
Yeah, okay, I'm cool with that. Then I'm going to second Supervisor Watson's motion.
And let me, if I could just ask one question. I realize I'm not on this board, but if the tax rate has gone down, what will, and if you're keeping the budget as was suggested by Director Lloyd, the money to replace it would come from the pot that Supervisor Gould has suggested. Is that correct?
Just not to the great extent.
Right, it's a little less.
A lesser extent, in answer to your question.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Correct.
Okay, Madam Clerk.
Supervisor Watson?
Yes.
Supervisor Angus?
Yes.
Supervisor Johnson?
No.
Supervisor Gould?
No.
Chairman Bishop?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, we'll now adjourn from the special meeting and resume the regular meeting. Item number 82, discussion on possible action may approve the adoption of Board of Supervisors Resolution number 2020-101, accepting the road maintenance petition requests that Smoke Tree Road from Ranch Road to Section 31 boundary be accepted into the Mojave County Road Maintenance System for tertiary maintenance. This is in the Sohi area. Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Aye.
Okay, item number 83, discussion of possible action may accept the recommendation of the Mojave County Transportation Commission to adopt the fiscal year 2020-21 5-year capital improvement road program.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion.
I have a motion and a second. Supervisor Gould, go ahead with discussion.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Since apparently the Pegasus Hive does not seem to be moving forward at this time, we've reallocated almost $500,000 to road work in front of that site. We have more urgent needs than that if they're not moving forward. So I would suggest that we remove Apache Road from the 2021 fiscal year plan.
Supervisor Gould, what's your source of information on that? Because it's certainly different than mine.
I don't think the press could get a hold of anybody, and as far as I knew, no one could get a hold of their website was inactive.
Could I get Tammy Ursenbach to come down? I believe she's been in constant contact with the CEO of this company. And I believe there are other companies that are coming into that same area.
That's exactly, excuse me, that's true. The reason they were doing the road wasn't just for Pegasus, it was for other companies that are coming to the area and that are looking at the area as an incentive, not as incentive, but as a way to say that this is how the county cares about our area. As for Pegasus, they are still not able to get the trailers that they had been trying to get. They have not responded to the media, even though, according to them, they were only contacted one time, not 3 or 4 like the media suggested. And they're doing some restructuring within the company. They have a new CEO, and because they have not been able to get the trailers, then they have had to come up with a new process, which is actually going to be more tax money for the county. They're hoping to be here and explain where they're at and what they're doing next month at the next Board of Supervisor meeting, but because their new CEO just started 3 weeks ago, and they're going through this restructuring process within how they're going to actually how they're going to get the power differently than what they had anticipated, and the buildings that they're going to be constructing, they'd like to be able to pull that whole plan together before they come and present, before they talk about what they're doing. But any questions?
Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you.
Does that answer your...
Not really. But I don't have any further questions on that. It was an urgent need when we accelerated it and moved that spending forward. Now it does not seem like an urgent need.
So I believe the urgent need was just from the end of the pavement to the Pegasus entrance, and that has been completed. So the rest of it is further on, and it's useful to the other companies that are looking to come to the same area and use the same road.
Can I ask Mr. Latoski the status of the project?
Certainly you may. Hello, Steve.
Hello, Madam Chair, members of the board, Supervisor Gould. Public Works has undertaken an engineering study to design the future construction of a unsurfaced gravel roadway with appropriate drainage that the county, through the Public Works Department, can bring back to the Board of Supervisors for maintenance acceptance. To this point, no construction work has been undertaken. I do understand that from the end of pavement out further north toward the Pegasus property that there may have been some private grading work, and Mojave County has a standing resolution 2016-016 that allows any private property owner to smoothen out a public right-of-way. So that is the only extent of road maintenance work that I am aware of. Public Works in procuring, and we're near completion of a design, so we'll have plans on the shelf to carry out the construction work. That was at a fairly nominal expense to the overall $500,000 appropriation, and then the construction work was to move forward in preferably 2 phases, a phase 1 and a phase 2. The phase 2 further north of Pegasus was really attributed to the absence of perfected right-of-way on the northernmost section, but we have the right-of-way in place along the Slitterly leg. So next fiscal year, our budget represents the Apache Road construction, and we would carry it forward primarily in a priority that's indicative of the urgency of the work.
So, Madam Chairman, Mr. Latoski, we have not mobilized construction work to beginning in that area, and any work that's been done has been done by others?
Supervisor Gould, that is exactly correct, because we would have to formally procure public procurement the construction work.
Okay. So if we were going to stop the progress on that road, this would be the time to stop before you actually get into it. We have a design. You've already spent the money on the design, but we don't want to stop it in the midst of the construction. So to me, this seems like a logical place to hold it up if it's not progressing. But thank you, Mr. Latoski.
Okay. Any other questions, discussion? We have a motion and a second.
I've got another. The Alamo Road stabilization project that's been on the plan for several years has been bumped off the plan altogether. And I would like to see that put back into fiscal year 21-22. It was the soil stabilization portion of that.
Any further discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Clarification.
Yes, go ahead.
I believe my motion was to approve the capital 5-year plan. Is that still the original motion?
Yes.
And the original second? Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item number 84, discussion on possible action, Ray, approve participating with the Bureau of Land Management as a cooperating agency to prepare an environmental assessment related to the Chiwitz Plateau Landscape Restoration Project.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This is in my district up on the Strip area. Misnomer, actually, a cooperating agency is not one that cooperates. I think we're one to listen and do as we're told in most cases. But in this situation, I think it's important for Mojave County to be involved in this project. It is a landscape restoration project that could prove to be very valuable in the future and make sure that we have no horrific and horrendous fires in that area. So I make a motion to approve participating in the BLM cooperating agency assessment.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item, discussion and possible action. Ray, approve the temporary suspension of mandatory Transportation Commission meetings in Lake Havasu City and Bullhead City for the calendar year 2020. Supervisor, have a motion to approve. Any discussion?
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item brought to us by Supervisor Johnson, discussion of possible action, direct staff to negotiate into future employees' benefit trust contracts a requirement that vendors or any third parties who have access to county employee personal identifying information to provide, in addition to other remedies as appropriate, 3 years of identity theft protection to any affected county employee should their information be involved in a data breach. This was continued by the board at our July 6th regular meeting. Supervisor Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think staff has some recommendations. They've worked it into our procurement also, I believe, so I would let staff come up with the recommendations they've made.
Okay, is there anybody here that wants to represent this? Or is there a motion on the floor?
Madam Chair, I don't see Ken. I know Ken is not feeling well today, so he is not in the office. I did anticipate somebody from HR here, so.
Oh, I see we have someone
It's just a
coming from.
motion to direct staff to negotiate.
Yeah.
So, right, Supervisor Johnson?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll make the motion to direct staff to negotiate into future employee benefit trust contracts, and 86 is written.
And I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Madam Chair, can we amend that to say also with procurement? Because we do have contracts that come out sometimes through procurement that give up the same information.
Then I'll retract my motion, and maybe you could make the motion how you...
Supervisor Johnson, if I could interject, what I would recommend is direct staff to negotiate into future employee benefit trust and Mojave County contracts. That way it would cover both.
Okay, so where are we?
You want to amend your motion then?
Okay, then I'll amend that
To what Ryan said? And then Supervisor Watson will
Amend my second
amend your second.
to incorporate the verbiage of our attorney, Mr. Ryan.
Okay, we have an amended motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Next item, this be a discussion and possible action, direct development services to investigate the potential for expanding the areas and zones where park models can be placed and present a report and recommendation to the Planning and Zoning Commission at their September 12, 2020 meeting for consideration and a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. So I do have a letter that I'm going to ask the clerk of the board to read, and just so everybody is clear, a park model is kind of between a recreational vehicle and a mobile home. It's kind of sits in the middle, a little of each. So, Madam Clerk, please.
To the attention of Mojave County Board of Supervisors regarding park models. Thank you in advance for taking the time to read this letter. My husband has been in the manufactured home installation industry for over 40 years, watching it progress into an alternative housing option other than stick-built. In the last 5 years, we have seen an increase in consumers coming to us to install park models. Although they are designed as an RV and are built to the RV ANSI code, these units provide much more than the traditional RV. These units are constructed out of the same materials used to build manufactured homes in comparison to an RV that is used to travel from one destination to another. 95% of these park models purchased by consumers are wanting to utilize the unit as a permanent structure, not to be moved on a regular basis like most RVs are. These units have kitchens, fully functioning restroom facilities, some have lofts, etc. Currently, the county only allows these units to be installed in designated RV areas, and in other areas, they can only be temporary, having to remain street-worthy, leaving axles and tires on, and they are not allowed to skirt them, leaving the underneath of the unit exposed to vermin and the outside elements. This makes the unit vulnerable to freezing, animals tearing up the underneath of the unit, etc. These units at times can cost more than double wide manufactured home, and with not being able to set them in a more permanent manner, especially with not being able to skirt them, detours many of the consumers from purchasing these units. Yes, they could purchase a manufactured home, however, they may not need a unit that size, and with the cost associated with a single wide home, the consumer is left with few choices. We are asking the board to consider an alternative permitting system for these units with a more permanent installation option. And if that is not an option, then to at the very least allow these consumers to install a breakaway vinyl skirting that can be removed easily and still protect the underneath of these units. We feel that not only would the park model serve as an additional housing option for those in our community, basically a tiny house, but also provide additional revenue to the community. I have attached a few pictures for the potential of these park models. The consumers we have worked with have been more than willing to conform to the need for permanent power source, power pole and service, and septic system, etc.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And I think this is just directing staff to take a look at this ordinance and probably rewrite it so that these park models can be included in as a permanent residence. So with that being said, I'll make the motion to direct staff to present a report at the next P&Z Commission meeting at their September 12th meeting.
I have a couple of questions for Mr. Walsh.
Supervisor Gold?
Tim, do we treat park models differently because they're not regulated by the federal government?
Park models, Chairman Bishop, Supervisor Gould, park models are an interesting sort. I don't know that it's so much in relation to the federal regulations. State statute also has some differentiations between a travel trailer, a park model, and a modular home. So I guess some of the main differentiations that you'd see, as was mentioned in the letter, probably one of the main differences is a travel trailer they're equipped with your different tanks, your water storage, your septic, and all of that. In the travel trailer, you can take it somewhere and go wherever, bring it back, and dispose of that. Park models typically aren't set up that way. They're more of a dependent type unit, similar to a manufactured home. So they've kind of been lost in this limbo of it's not quite a manufactured home, but it's not quite a travel trailer. So with that, our zoning ordinance followed basically state statutes lead, and we've lumped them in with your RVs more than with your manufactured homes.
So can you set one currently with a camping permit? Or park one, I should say?
With a park permit, they can be placed in say like an RV park where there are access to facilities. Now,
but we won't let somebody put one on their own land like we do with an RV permit?
In certain situations, and I'd have to look exactly at how we have it in the zoning ordinance, I believe with a special use permit, they would be allowed to do so.
Having crawled around under some of them, they're built just like a mobile home or a manufactured home. Mm-hmm. It's just a smaller manufactured home. And I think it's just I don't think HUD regulates the manufacture of park models. I think it's a government technicality kind of thing more so than something that is function in reality.
I believe there definitely is that aspect to it.
And they probably have to have license plates on them, I would think.
I'm not 100% on that, but that would follow that.
Yeah, so there might be a property tax disadvantage to them from the county's point of view, but thank you.
You bet.
I have a question for Mr. Walsh.
Go ahead, Mr. Supervisor Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Is this a way for people to get around the manufactured home requirements that we have now?
Chairman Bishop, Supervisor Johnson, what we would be looking at is not necessarily a way around our manufactured home requirements. Currently, park models are pretty heavily restricted in the places that they can go. I believe right now we're looking at RV parks would be some of the only places that you could place these that are with a special use permit on their property. What I believe what the intent of this action would be to look at, okay, would it be acceptable in similar places that a manufactured home is acceptable to also place a park model? And I believe that's what the intent of the motion would be, is to look at the zoning ordinance for obviously in accordance with state statute, what state statute allows, but then apply that to our zoning ordinance to see the applicable placement of these park models, if it would be suiting to have them placed similarly to a manufactured home.
But what they could be used for is people who don't want or don't have the financial means to put a manufactured home on a piece of property. They could be putting these small park models and then turning them into rentals.
We could definitely look, we could definitely look at that possibility and look at what the ramifications would be in our presentation to both the Planning and Zoning Commission and the board.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, Tim, currently, the way I understand it, if you have a park model, you're not allowed to put skirting around it to protect the underneath from rodents and stuff. Is that correct? Which would be one of the things that the board would be looking into to
Chairman Bishop, I'm not 100% on whether, from the letter, it appeared to be the condition there. I think that would be, I'd have to look and see where that requirement comes from. I can't imagine that that's from a zoning standpoint. I would imagine that's probably from a building standpoint, which then would go back to whether it's a HUD requirement or where that falls in. So that's one thing we'd have to look at and see. But if the commission recommended and if the board agreed that allowing these to be placed permanently on properties with the supporting utilities, definitely we could look at making them a more permanent fixture and allowing that skirting.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of along the lines of tiny houses. There's a growing movement of people wanting to live in smaller homes, and whether they're low income or just not mobile to get around a larger home. I think this is an interesting concept that I appreciate being looked at.
Absolutely.
So I did make a motion, and we need a second.
Second.
I have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Last item today, this will be a discussion of possible action with an update from the County Public Health Director to the Board of Supervisors regarding recent issues, actions, events, and county responses regarding COVID-19 updates and taking any necessary actions based upon the updates. So we have Denise Burley coming to the podium, and I'll turn the floor over to you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, thank you again for having me up here to give you some updates. I'll run through the numbers so far. We have 3,017 cases in the county to date. 1,394 have recovered, so we're getting up there, which is really nice to see. Our average age of cases is 48.4. Average age of deaths is 77. So we're still sitting up there in the 70s with our death rates. We had a 26% change in a decrease in cases from previous week to last week. Nice to see. So hopefully that is a trend. Last week, as you know, I mentioned on Monday, what day of the week is it? Last week I mentioned that the case count had gone down, but it actually had leveled off and sort of mirrored the previous week. So in this case, we have actually gone down by 26% at this point in time. Based on the Federal Coronavirus Task Force report, Arizona and Mojave County still sit in the red zone, which means that indicates more than 100 new cases per 100,000 population last week. And also, we're in the red zone for test positivity, indicating a rate above 10%. So those are numbers that we want to see drop. There are a number of counties, of course, that join us in that. We have, of the counties in the red zones, we have Pima, Yuma, Pinal, Mojave, Santa Cruz, Gila, Graham, and Maricopa. So we're all sitting in that range at the moment. Okay. I do want to address the other and unknown that was added to the report just last Friday. We're having some struggles really with some of the labs, hospitals, testing areas that are not including complete information on the registration forms and so forth that people complete before becoming tested. In those cases, we don't have a lot of follow-up information. In some cases, we're getting no information. I mean, we literally have a name and that's about it. So in those particular cases, if we are able to follow up with them, we do indicate, of course, and fill in the blanks and add that information in. But if we're unable to, this is a circumstance where we had to put an other and unknown because we can't force something into a box that doesn't exist and won't. So that's where that comes from. We have, sorry, lost my train of thought there. Gosh, can you believe it? So, any questions about the address, the unknown part? It's an area that we can certainly follow up with ADHS and request that they reach out to both providers, clinics and hospitals to ensure that they are collecting full information, because that makes our life a lot easier. There are times when we can research that, but when we have high numbers of cases, that takes a considerable amount of time, and we want to dedicate that time to the investigations if we can. So, but we can reach out. Certainly, Supervisor Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Director Burley. I'm concerned about this labs not providing us with complete information. Pretty much all of us have gone to have lab work done where we have to give our name, our address, our insurance forms, our phone number. They want to make sure they're being paid. Now, the only difference here is they're being reimbursed. The only possible conclusion I can come from is that somebody's bogusing up these results so they can get paid. Can you give us a list of all labs that are not giving us complete information? Because I have never had lab work done where they did one. Everything I had, plus I had to show ID. And we can take it up to see if possibly there is some kind of nefarious action going on. Thank you, Madam Chair, Director Burley.
Certainly. We'll look into that, Supervisor Johnson. And it may be a lab, it may be a provider, it may be through a testing blitz event, which generally is a lab, but sometimes there are contracted agencies that are doing those testing blitz, and they're pushing people through those very, very quickly. And so we'll check in to see what we can find. Additionally, we'll continue. Go ahead.
Okay, well, it just seems to me that anybody who's going to go to get tested is going to want to give the most complete information they can so they can find out if they are positive or negative. They're not going to be misleading the people at all on that. So I don't think it's from the people myself, but that's all. Thank you.
Certainly. We'll continue to look into it, though. Okay, on a staffing note, our coordinator started today, so that person is going through new employee orientation, and then we will bring them on board to go through the contact tracing and investigation training, because we want them to fully understand what their staff will be responsible for. And hopefully we'll have that completed by midweek, end of week. So it'll take a little time to get up to speed. Let's see here. Supervisor Angus, you brought up the long-term care surveillance that's continuing, and that actually has just started. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Service will begin requiring, rather than recommending, that all nursing homes in states with a 5% positivity rate or greater test all nursing home staff each week. So that'll be the new requirement, not recommendation. This will hopefully enhance efforts to keep the virus from entering and spreading through nursing homes by identifying asymptomatic carriers. They did provide 600, I believe they've used the Cadell machines, rapid testing machines out in the community. Those, none of those went to Arizona nursing homes at this point, but I believe there's more coming, and they'll be more distributed throughout the coming weeks. The federal government is also deploying task force strike teams to provide on-site technical assistance and education to nursing homes experiencing outbreaks in an effort to reduce the transmission and risk among residents. So I think that extra assistance will be great. I know that, when they come on board and staff these particular sites, they're using paraprofessionals and certified medical providers and so forth, but they don't have necessarily the same background as a doctor or nurse. So this will be a great opportunity for them to learn through this education task force, and also they are developing trainings that are going to be online modules that staff can actually watch and learn from. So I think that'll be a great partnership as well. And CDC is assisting in that effort. Those will all be self-paced and be based on infection control and best practice. Questions so far?
Any questions?
All right, there was a question at the last meeting about the difference in isolation period for those individuals who have become severely ill and were immunocompromised, and why the isolation time frame was different for those particular individuals. And basically what they've shown is that the a person can remain infectious longer as a result of the compromised immune system. So that's why it's 20 days versus 10. So, Mayor Schumacher, our epidemiologist, one of our epidemiologists, has completed an analysis of COVID deaths, which examines deaths classified as COVID-19 in Mojave County and compares them to deaths in previous years. That report I will provide to you, and I'll add it as an agenda item for Thursday to discuss more fully at that time. And I will also, if you have not received it, release this federal coronavirus task force report to you so you can see both statewide and countywide data. And I can add that to the agenda as well, so you can review that and we can ask questions. Okay. Let's see.
Madam Chair.
Supervisor Johnson, go ahead.
Ms. Burley, can you explain, we had 143 deaths, now we have 145. Where'd the last 2 deaths come from?
Thank you for asking, Supervisor Johnson. So I have asked staff to look into this, but it follows the same pattern as when we have cases coming in and out of our jurisdiction. They're transferred in when people learn, like you may go to a hospital, you may live here, go to a hospital in the valley or even out of state, you pass away from COVID-related illness, and that information gets brought back to us and transferred in as a death in our county if they have a residence here, a permanent residence. So there's a number of reasons that follow the same pattern as our cases coming in and out, but I have asked staff to follow up with that.
Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
I have kind of a question that was asked to me by a constituent, and it has to do with the homeless population. I remember in the beginning of all of this, we talked about it. Are we seeing homeless cases?
You know, we have not. And we did have a hotel available in one of the communities to address that in the need. If we had a positive case, we would be able to isolate that person at the hotel. But we have not received any information from hospitals or from the homeless shelter giving us any indication that we'd need to use that facility.
Right, which is interesting.
In probably 6 weeks, 8 weeks?
In the homeless shelter in Kingman, I guess, because the one in Bullhead isn't open yet, they have protocols in place. They test everyone who comes in. How do they do that?
You know, I'm not sure what their protocols are at this point. I know that they've been modifying them as we've gone along. They do have some space for individuals to quarantine if there's any question if someone's symptomatic and awaiting testing or awaiting a result. But other than that, I'm not sure how they've modified their activities to address it.
Right. I think it's interesting as they look at sort of how this is all falling out. You know, there's a school of thought about vitamin D, and you know, as a helpful. It's just an interesting. Have you seen any studies or anything like that?
I have not, but I know that there's a lot of studies. You know, as you've mentioned before about some of the other medicines that are already in existence. There's a lot of research going on to find out and learn what will work to fight the virus or prevent the virus.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Certainly. I didn't have any other updates, but I want to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for Denise? Hearing none, Denise, thank you very much for your report. This meeting's adjourned.